professional game developer Cliff traveled to the Pokémon world, only to find that the game industry here was quite sluggish, and everyone was playing low-quality skin games. Just when he decided to make a big move, he accidentally awakened the Pokémon game production system. As long as he could influence the emotions of the players, he could get rewards and unlock more advanced black-tech game production functions. Cliff made a decision resolutely when the system had just been unlocked and could only produce low-level pixel games. The next morning, Cynthia discovered a special game during the live broadcast. "Hey, there's a new game? Viridian City." Night had fallen, draping the skyline in a cool, electric glow. In a cramped, dimly lit rental room tucked into a forgotten corner of the city, a young man with messy black hair sat hunched over a flickering monitor. His eyes, sharp and intense, were fixed on a folder titled, Colorful EV Match 3. "This time, it has to work." Cliff took a steadying breath. With a trembling hand, he dragged the folder into the website's upload zone and slammed the enter key. A heartbeat of silence followed. Then, a massive red X blinked onto the screen, accompanied by a cold dialog box. The folder on his desktop vanished instantly, as if it had never existed. Unknown error, 404. File corrupted. Damn it. Not again. Cliff cursed, his palm striking the desk with a hollow thud as he surged to his feet. He had arrived in this world exactly 1 week ago. The good news, it was a world he knew and loved, the world of Pokémon. The bad news, he had inhabited the body of a penniless orphan. No money, no status, living in a shack on the outskirts of Viridian City, scraping by on odd jobs just to keep his stomach from growling. When he first arrived, he hadn't harbored grand ambitions of becoming a champion. He simply wanted a Pokémon partner or two to share a quiet life with. But reality had a way of teeth-grinding cruelty. He was so broke he could barely feed himself. Bringing a Pokémon into his life right now would just mean 2 mouths starving on the street instead of 1. To change his fate, Cliff, a top-tier game producer in his previous life, had spent his first day scouring the local internet to gauge the entertainment industry. The results had been staggering. While the world possessed high-speed internet and nearly everyone owned a smartphone, the creative landscape was a barren wasteland. Movies, novels, and games were stuck in a primitive, almost prehistoric stage. For instance, the top-selling title on the official League Games chart, priced at a staggering 99 Poke Dollars, was something called Angry Stone. It was a racing game. You played as a Diglett rolling down a road. It was single-player only. If you were lucky enough to reach the endgame, your Diglett evolved into a golem, essentially becoming a 100-ton, fully insured semi-truck that barreled down the highway, teaching NPCs the meaning of hard knocks. The sheer lack of competition had filled Cliff with joy. With his expertise, even a lazy port of a masterpiece from his old world would be enough to live like royalty. Then, the glitches started. He had spent 2 full days coding a polished version of Pac-Man. When he tried to upload it, the file corrupted and vanished. He thought it was his hardware. He rebuilt it, took it to an internet cafe on a thumb drive, and tried again. Same result. He stubbornly coded a Lucario Gold miner minigame. It disappeared into the digital void the moment he hit submit. Counting this latest attempt, 5 games had been swallowed whole. Cliff rubbed his temples, a headache throbbing behind his eyes. The rent was due next week. Between his obsessive coding sessions and his dwindling savings, he didn't even have enough cash to buy a bottle of moo milk from the convenience store downstairs. Just as he was spiraling into a dark internal debate about his future, a shimmering, golden interface materialized in his field of vision. A crisp, electronic chime echoed in his mind, 7-day synchronization period complete. Global filtering active. Ding. Congratulations, host. The strongest Pokémon game creation system has been initialized. This system provides high-efficiency development technology to help you become the world's premier Pokémon game creator. Beginner. Reward modules activated. Please check the control panel. Cliff scanned the data. His eyes locked onto the first line of the log. So, You're the reason my games have been vanishing all week? The synthesized voice replied with a hint of mechanical smugness, ding. Warning, as a transmigrator, your presence risks temporal instability. To prevent erasure, the system restricts you to creating Pokemon-centric content. All non-Pokemon data was automatically intercepted and purged. No need to thank the system. I thank your entire digital lineage, Cliff muttered, reciting every curse word he knew under his breath. He forced himself to calm down and analyze the situation. Essentially, the system acted as a high-speed development engine, but it had a strict Pokemon-only policy. He turned his attention to the two glowing blue cubes on the panel. Pixel Engine, Basic, allows for rapid creation of high-quality pixel art and assets. Core Logic Module, Basic, allows for rapid scripting of small-scale, simple program architecture. Note, unlocking or upgrading modules requires emotion points. These are earned when others experience strong emotions, anger, shock, joy, or admiration, caused by your games or your actions. Current balance, 0, rapid creation, huh? Cliff focused. He opened his development software and visualized a specific sprite in his mind. Instantly, a perfectly rendered, yellow pixel Pikachu appeared on his screen. Okay, this isn't bad. His eyes brightened. Even for a pro, solo developing a game was an exhausting grind. That was why he'd stuck to minigames all week. A full-scale RPG was impossible for one man. Moreover, he was a producer, not a dedicated coder. He handled the vision, others handled the syntax. With this system, the technical barrier was gone. And if he could farm enough emotion points, he could unlock advanced modules to create even more realistic, high-fidelity Pokemon titles. He began to brainstorm. A Pokemon-centric game. Limited to pixel art and basic logic. A specific image flashed in his mind. Pokémon, Ruby Sapphire Emerald Edition, a heavyweight classic. The childhood gateway for millions. One of the most iconic entries in handheld. With his current modules, it was the perfect project. But then, a wicked thought took root. To unlock the high-tier modules, he needed massive amounts of emotion points. A standard, faithful recreation of Emerald might be too safe. It might evoke nostalgia or joy, but those were slow burns. He sat back in his creaky chair, a slow, meaningful grin spreading across his face. If there was one emotion gamers felt most intensely, it was pure, unadulterated rage followed by a total mental breakdown. And Emerald was the perfect canvas for that. Cliff's fingers danced across the keyboard. A new folder appeared on his desktop, the name typed in bold, ominous letters, Pokémon, Ultra Emerald, Insane Difficulty Edition. The so-called Ultra Emerald was, in Cliff's previous world, a fan-made masterpiece that iterated on the original Emerald version. It didn't just add Pokémon and regions from later generations, it overhauled the very soul of the game. The difficulty was leagues beyond the original. NPCs possessed high-level AI that didn't just attack, they calculated. They predicted player switches, targeted weaknesses with ruthless efficiency, used healing items strategically, and exploited held items. In many ways, they played better than actual humans. Furthermore, strict level caps prevented players from simply grinding their way to victory. You couldn't overpower the game, you had to outthink it. Then there was Insane Mode. It was a hidden difficulty that lived up to its name, a soul-crushing, controller-snapping gauntlet designed to break a player's spirit. Cliff had taken this foundation and pushed it further. Using the system, he sharpened the AI's tactical edge even more. In a world where everyone lived alongside Pokémon, a standard game would be child's play. If he wanted to farm emotion points, he needed his players to feel the heat. Easy mode can wait, Cliff thought darkly. I need them to sweat. He dove into the code, his mind a blur of sprites and logic gates. System, can we implement these environmental modifiers? Confirmed. Commencing production. With the system's help, Cliff's efficiency was godlike, but perfecting the insane mode logic still took the entire night. As the first rays of dawn crept through the grime of his window, Cliff made the final touches. He dragged the folder to the upload portal, held his breath, and clicked. This time, no red error appeared. Instead, for bold, green characters flashed, "Upload successful." He let out a long, shuddering breath. Without even bothering to turn off his PC, he stumbled toward the bed and collapsed. His new body was weaker than his old one. If he pushed any further, he'd be looking at a second reincarnation. Within seconds, his breathing leveled out into a deep sleep. In the shadows behind the curtain, a small figure drifted into the light. It looked like a white candle with deep green eyes and a flickering navy flame atop its head, eerie yet strangely charming. A lit wick. But this lit wick was weak. Its flame sputtered, nearly extinguished. It was starving. Drawn by the scent of a fresh, vibrant soul, it drifted toward the sleeping cliff. So hungry. Just a little taste. It was Saturday. Per league law, most citizens, aside from those in the service industry, were enjoying a day off. In a world starved for quality entertainment, live streaming was the primary pastime. On the planet's largest platform, Siduk TV, a long dormant room suddenly flickered to life. Within seconds, the viewer count exploded past 100,000. She's live. The goddess is back. I've waited a lifetime for this notification. The screen flickered on, revealing a desktop wallpaper of a majestic Garchomp in mid-roar. A woman sat before the camera, her presence commanding yet graceful. Her gray eyes were as deep and mysterious as an ancient spring, and her blonde hair flowed like silk over her shoulders. She was the champion of the Sinnoh League, the legendary trainer at the pinnacle of power, Cynthia. "Good morning, everyone," Cynthia said, a gentle smile gracing her lips. "The league has been quiet lately, so I finally have time to chat." "Did you miss me?" The chat became an unreadable blur of marriage proposals and excitement. Cynthia chuckled softly. "You're all as lively as ever. Since we have the whole day, what should we play?" The suggestions flooded in. Most fans clamored for Battle Path, a combat simulator released by DreamWorks 6 months ago. Despite its bugs and lazy updates, it was the only game that allowed for somewhat realistic tactical simulations. Cynthia nodded, clicking the red and white Pokeball icon on her desktop. "Battle Path it is, then. It's good practice for," she stopped. A prompt blocked her entry. "Fatal server error, connection failed." The chat hissed with venom. DreamWorks is at it again. Lazy bums. They make millions and can't buy a decent server. Cynthia frowned slightly, closing the window. "It seems that's off the table. Any other ideas?" Amidst the sea of generic suggestions, a bright red super chat caught her eye. It was from a longtime supporter, fish-loving cat. "SC, Nana, the league's official site is running a new indie promotion. Maybe check there?" Cynthia navigated to the league's promotion page. Most of it was garbage, reskin versions of Angry Stone where the Diglett was replaced by a Voltorb or a Miltank. She was about to close the tab when a thumbnail stopped her heart. Against a backdrop of swirling emerald mists, the silhouette of a serpentine dragon emerged, surrounded by glowing ancient runes. Even through a low-res preview, the image radiated a terrifying, divine majesty. Cynthia's eyes widened. This is impossible. As a mythologist, she recognized that silhouette instantly. It was the legendary ruler of the skies, the dragon god of myth, Rayquaza. Knowledge of such high legendaries was restricted, most records had been lost to time or fire centuries ago. Yet here it was, rendered with startling accuracy on a game cover. Her gaze dropped to the developer's name, Cliff. She'd never heard of him. A pseudonym? She searched for a publisher or company, but found nothing. It was a solo project. Pokémon Emerald Beta Test. The description was deceptively simple: encounter and train various Pokémon, build your team, and embark on a wonderful adventure. But below that were 2 lines in warning red text: warning, non-professional trainers are strictly prohibited. This game takes no responsibility for high blood pressure, heart attacks, or sudden cranial hemorrhaging. Cynthia's brow arched. High blood pressure? From a video game? Then, the second line, the first player to clear the beta will receive the author's private contact info and a 100,000 Poké reward. Cynthia didn't care about the money, but the contact info was a different story. If this Cliff knew what Rayquaza looked like, he was someone she had to meet. She clicked purchase. A payment window popped up, and even the unflappable champion blinked in shock. Purchase Pokémon Emerald for $288. Proceed? $288? Cynthia murmured. In a market where AAA titles barely cost $100, a pixel art indie game was asking for nearly $300. The audacity was staggering. The chat was already losing its mind. Is this a scam? $300 for pixels? This Cliff guy is a bandit. Cynthia stared at the Rayquaza silhouette. A bandit, or a genius? She clicked confirm. It was clear that Cynthia wasn't the only one reeling from the price tag. The live chat was a chaotic storm of indignation. 288? This pixel game looks like it's only a few hundred megabytes. How much content can it possibly have? How does he have the nerve to charge 288? The developer is so kind. He could have just robbed us, but he went through the trouble of making a game for us first. Even Angry Stone only dares to ask for 99. And the Battle Path Season Pass is only 150. Why is this so expensive? He's clearly using that $100,000 bounty as bait to fetch a quick profit and disappear. High price, pixel art, arrogant warnings. I've seen this scam before. The viewers didn't know what Cynthia was thinking, they didn't see the Rayquaza on the cover the way she did. To them, it was a blatant cash grab. But in the next heartbeat, under the gaze of 100,000 people, Cynthia clicked the purchase button and authorized the payment. The scrolling comments stopped dead. A few seconds later, the screen was flooded with question marks. Calm down, goddess. I know it's your money, but don't throw it away like this. My God, 288 Poké gone in a blink? Cynthia offered a calm, practiced smile to the camera. Don't worry, everyone. I'm actually more interested because the price is so high. If the content isn't up to par, I can apply for a full refund as an official league tester. She paused, her eyes glinting with a touch of competitive fire. Besides, according to the description, it's a battle-focused game. If I can actually clear it, I'll win that 100,000 bounty. It's an investment. The chat shifted gears instantly. That actually makes sense. If he dares to put that bounty on the league's official site, he'd be arrested for fraud if he didn't pay up. The dev probably made it impossible just so he wouldn't have to pay. He didn't expect the Sinnoh champion to be the first one through the door. Poor guy. He only sold one copy, and now he's going to lose 100K. Cynthia felt a small weight lift as the fans began to joke again. She couldn't breathe a word about the legendary Pokémon or her true objective. Information on high legendaries was Class A classified, leaking it could trigger mass panic or attract dangerous organizations. She needed a cover story, and testing a potential scam fit perfectly. Still, looking at that price, a thought lingered in her mind. Would someone who knows the true form of Rayquaza really make a low-quality game just for a quick buck? She clicked download. The beauty of pixel art was its small file size. A few seconds later, a crisp ding signaled completion. An icon featuring an emerald green gemstone appeared on her desktop. She clicked it. The screen went black, then a single, crystalline drop of water fell from a lush green leaf. It splashed into a pond below, sending ripples across the screen as a rhythmic, high-energy electronic beat kicked in. The camera panned up. Under a vibrant sun, a young man in a green headband rode a bicycle across a vast, sweeping grassland, the wind whipping past him. Pokémon flashed by in a blur of life, a Manectric sprinting alongside, a Flygon soaring overhead, Volbeat dancing in the air. Then, a Torchic appeared, its tiny orange claws scrambling clumsily across the dirt. It tripped, tumbled, and scrambled back up with frantic determination, as if terrified of being left behind. The camera surged upward into the clouds, and the logo slammed onto the screen in brilliant emerald hues. Pokémon, Emerald. Cynthia found herself holding her breath. In her time as a tester, she had played countless pixel games. In her experience, pixel usually meant crude or minimalist, a choice made by developers with big ideas but zero budget. But this intro, it shattered her preconceptions. The sprites were incredibly refined, possessing a depth and fluidity that felt almost three-dimensional. This is not a scam, she decided instantly. The chat was having a similar realization. Wait, is this actually a pixel game? Why does it look so good? That music is a banger. I'm already humming it. It's more polished than any indie I've ever seen. Cynthia shook her head slightly. The animation was impressive, but was it worth $288? That depended on the soul of the game. She pressed the X key. Please enter your name. Cynthia hesitated for only a second before typing, strawberry ice cream. It was her favorite treat, her secret indulgence. The chat erupted in awe and laughter. Welcome to the world of Pokémon, strawberry ice cream. A journey of courage and friendship awaits. Never forget your heart. Through bonds and passion, become the strongest trainer. Cynthia stared at the words bonds and passion. A shadow of a deeper emotion crossed her eyes before she pressed start. The game began in the back of a moving truck. Her character, a young girl in a white and red hat, stepped out into Little Root Town. Her mom greeted her, explaining they had just moved to the Hoenn region. Cynthia was immediately struck by the architecture. She had never been to Little Root, but the design perfectly captured the breezy, rustic aesthetic of the Hoenn region she had read about in books. Every detail, the swaying grass, the blooming flowers, the NPCs going about their lives, felt lived in. How did an indie developer capture the essence of a region so perfectly? She set her in-game clock and met her neighbor, a boy she unceremoniously named Black-Haired Boy, prompting another round of laughter from the chat. The core loop began. Cynthia's character reached the northern exit of the town. A cry for help echoed from the tall grass. A man in a lab coat, Professor Birch, was being chased by a wild Poochyena. Strawberry ice cream. You're just in time. There are Pokeballs in my bag. Quickly, help me. The chat roared. Professor Birch, are you serious? You're a world-class researcher and you're getting your butt nipped by a Poochyena? The strongest champion in the world is being asked to save a man from a puppy. What a dream. Cynthia ignored the banter, her focus shifting to the 3 Pokeballs on screen. Torchic, the fire type. Cute, feisty. Trico, the grass type. Cool, stoic, with a twig in its mouth. Mudkip, the water type. Honest and sturdy. Which one, Nana? The chat asked. Torchic is the cutest. Mudkip has the best final evolution stats. Cynthia studied them. If this truly was an insane mode game, the starter choice was a life or death decision. She eventually moved her cursor to Trico. I've always had an interest in the Trico line, she explained. And in the early game, grass types have excellent sustain with moves like Absorb and Leech Seed. If the difficulty is as high as the developer claims, survival is the first priority. A brilliant flash of light transitioned the screen. The music shifted instantly, a high-tempo, brass-heavy battle theme that made her pulse quicken. The interface was clean. Turn-based. Turn-based combat, Cynthia noted, interacting with the chat. It's a classic choice for pixel RPGs, but it remains to be seen how much depth the developer has actually programmed into the mechanics. The chat was less optimistic. You hit me, I hit you. Seems a bit boring, doesn't it? It'll just be a numbers game. Higher level wins. No strategy needed. Great graphics, great music, but the combat system looks shallow. 4 stars out of 5 for effort, but it's no battle path. Cynthia didn't respond. She commanded Trico to use pound. As the animation played out, she watched the Pochina's health bar drop. It was a simple start, but she could feel a strange tension in the air, as if the game was waiting for her to let her guard down. While the chat was busy dissecting the flaws of a turn-based system, Cynthia remained silent, her mind racing with analytical depth. To her, turn-based didn't mean shallow, it meant calculated. Even Battle Path was, at its core, a series of commands executed by a program. Its realism came from voice commands and high-budget individual AI for the Pokémon, which masked the underlying turn structure. But Battle Path had a team of hundreds and a massive database. Even then, it was riddled with type bugs, grass-type Piplups, or flying-type Torkoals. She expected this solo-developed emerald to be a mess of data errors. Yet, as she watched her Trico's stats, her brow climbed higher. Speed and special attack. Cliff hadn't just guessed, he had perfectly mirrored the innate biological strengths of the Trico line. If the base stats were this accurate, did that mean the entire Pokédex was correctly mapped? She shook the thought away. Impossible. No lone developer has that kind of data access. She finished the tutorial fight against the wild Pochina and received her Trico from Professor Birch. Shortly after, her rival, the black-haired boy, challenged her. The first fight was a breeze, his Torchic was a level lower, and she swept him aside. Birch then sent her north to Route 103 for a real scouting mission, handing over 5 Pokeballs. Cynthia took the opportunity to test the waters. She battled wild Rattata, Pidgey, and Wurmple, watching her Trico grow from level 5 to level 8, picking up quick attack along the way. When she finally cornered her rival at the end of the route, the chat was relaxed. Here comes the experienced delivery boy. May he live long and have many children for this free EXP. Cynthia smiled, initiating the dialogue. But 2 seconds into the battle, the atmosphere in the room curdled. The rival's Torchic came out. Level 9. 1 level higher than me, Cynthia noted. Unusual for a starter rival. She commanded a quick attack. Trico blurred across the screen, slamming its tail into the chick. Torchic's health bar dropped by barely a third. Then, the counterattack came. Torchic used Ember. It's super effective. The health bar screamed from green to a panicked, flashing yellow in a single hit. Cynthia's eyes narrowed. Half my HP in 1 turn? She reached into her bag, using a potion she'd bought earlier. A purple mist sprayed over Trico, restoring its vitals. But before she could even breathe, another ember charred the screen, dropping Trico right back into the danger zone. She realized the trap instantly. In this game, items consumed your turn. If she kept healing, she wasn't fighting, she was just waiting to run out of potions. How do I break this loop? She wondered. If I attack, I might hit 2 more times, but he only needs 1 more ember to end it. She hesitated, her finger hovering over the mouse as she ran the damage calcs in her head. Warning, command delay detected. Rival takes the initiative. Torchic used Ember. It's super effective. The screen shook violently. Trico collapsed. Trico fainted. You have no more usable Pokémon. Strawberry ice cream whited out, the screen faded to a dismal black. Cynthia sat frozen in front of her monitor. When the visuals returned, her character was standing in the Pokémon Center, and her wallet display in the corner was empty. The chat went nuclear. What? Since when does a rival NPC play for keeps? 2 hits? Just 2? This isn't a game, it's a mugging. Did he just take all her money? Is this Team Rocket in disguise? Cynthia exhaled a long, slow breath. The hardcore warning wasn't flavor text. Most games were designed for fun, letting the player stomp NPCs to build a power fantasy. This game? This game treated the NPC like a professional trainer from the jump. And the turn timer? That was pure psychological warfare. I see, Cynthia whispered, a sharp, dangerous glint appearing in her gray eyes. It's not enough to just play. I have to win. Her competitive spirit, dormant during months of tedious league paperwork, roared to life. She didn't feel cheated, she felt challenged. She didn't run back to the rival. Instead, she turned toward the tall grass. For 10 minutes, she systematically hunted every wild Pokémon on the route. Poochyena down. Wurmple defeated. At level 12, a new prompt appeared, level cap reached, level 12. Proceed to the next city to unlock further growth. A level cap? Cynthia murmured. Clever. It prevents me from just grinding to level 20 and one-shotting him. He's forcing me to fight him at a specific power bracket. She checked her moves. Trico had learned Mega Drain and Detect. Okay, she told her viewers, her voice taking on the steel of a champion. Level 12 versus level 9. With Detect to scout his moves and Mega Drain for sustain, I have the tactical advantage. Let's finish this. She marched back to the clearing. The black-haired boy turned, a smirk appearing on his pixelated face. Oh. You've made progress. But I won't be left behind. Let's go. Rival black-haired boy challenged you. A white flash. The Torchic appeared. Cynthia looked at the level indicator, expecting a 9. The number displayed was 13. Cynthia. Livestream chat. Wait, someone screamed in the comments. The NPC leveled up with her? He's cheating. He's literally cheating. Is this legal? Developer, come out here and explain yourself. Cynthia stared at the screen, her grip tightening on her mouse. The insane mode wasn't just about high stats. It was about an AI that refused to let you have the upper hand. The rematch ended exactly as one would expect under the crushing weight of insane mode scaling. Trico was obliterated by 2 embers. Because both Pokémon had leveled up, the power gap had widened. Torchic's flames now carved out 2/3 of Trico's HP in a single burst. As the screen faded to black and the character respawned at the Pokémon Center, the wallet icon in the corner blinked a dismal -$1,000. Cynthia's chat was a blur of frantic text. I finally get what he meant by never being left behind. He meant he'll always be one step ahead. This developer is a sadist. Why does the NPC scale with the player? LMAO, -1,000? The champion is officially bankrupt. Cynthia didn't see the comments. She was lost in a tactical trance. The developer had anticipated the most common player strategy, grinding, and slammed the door shut. To win, she couldn't rely on brute force. She needed to solve the fundamental problem, type disadvantage. The double weakness is too much for Trico's bulk, she mused. But wait. Professor Birch gave me 5 Pokeballs. Her eyes brightened. If she couldn't win with one Pokémon, she'd build a team. However, the game's insane rules were restrictive. Her current party limit was only 2, and the total Pokémon she could catch over the entire game was capped at 15. Most brutally, once a Pokémon was caught, it could never be released. Every partner is for life, Cynthia whispered. To most players, this was a harsh limitation. To Cynthia, it felt right. It mirrored the weight of a real trainer's bond. She wouldn't just catch data, she would choose her comrades with the same gravity she used in the real world. Her mind began cataloging the wild Pokémon she'd seen on the route, but a sudden, sharp trill broke her concentration. Her phone, resting on the desk, was vibrating. She checked the ID and answered immediately. Miss Cynthia, a voice crackled, urgent and low. I'm sorry to interrupt your leave, but the spirits in the distortion world are agitated again. We suspect a new wave is forming. The Canalave city gate needs your presence immediately. Cynthia's expression hardened. The relaxed gamer was gone, the champion had returned. Understood. I'm on my way. She turned back to her camera, her voice tinged with genuine regret. I'm sorry, everyone. Duty calls. I have to end the stream early, but I'll be back as soon as the situation is stable. Thank you for your patience. The screen cut to black, leaving a tidal wave of new, and the distortion world, in its wake. But as the viewers dispersed, a spark had been lit. I'm buying it, one viewer typed. I have to see if I can beat that Torchic. Me too. If the champion can't do it, maybe I can. Despite the $288 price tag, the seeds of a viral hit had been sown. With over 200,000 viewers witnessing the mystery, even a 1% conversion rate meant 2,000 copies sold instantly. High above the clouds, a deep blue blur tore through the night sky. Cynthia sat atop her Garchomp, the wind whipping her blonde hair into a golden veil. Usually, Pokémon transport was restricted over urban areas, but a champion on an emergency mission held absolute priority. Even as she sped toward a potential crisis, her mind wandered back to the emerald green pixels. Does every NPC scale? If the first rival is this hard, what does a gym leader look like? She felt a rare thrill of anticipation. It had been years since she felt this kind of tactical pressure. But there was a more pressing matter. She needed to find Cliff before someone else cleared the beta and took his contact info. Her phone buzzed again. This time, the caller ID was a string of garbled code. Cynthia's face broke into a look of genuine surprise and relief. She swiped to answer. Cynthia. Long time no see. Did you miss me? A lazy, playful voice drifted through the line. You're out already? Cynthia asked, impressed. What, you wanted me to stay in the black hole longer? It was surprisingly quiet this time, so we wrapped up early. The voice chuckled. So, what's up? You're just in time, Cynthia said. I need you to track someone down for me. A game developer. The line went silent for a beat. Excuse me, the voice finally asked. Cynthia, you know my hacking skills and database access aren't for sending death threats to devs who make games too hard, right? It's not that. Cynthia corrected quickly. He has information on Rayquaza. Accurate, ancient tier information. I don't know if it's a studio or an individual named Cliff, but I need to know who he is. The voice shifted instantly from lazy to intrigued. Rayquaza? Real data? Say no more. I'm on it. Thank you. I'll buy you dinner, Cynthia promised. I'm holding you to that. The steakhouse at the Canal Ave docks. I have to go, I'll call you when I have a lead. The call ended. Cynthia pocketed her phone and patted Garchomp's neck. Garchomp, let's pick up the pace. We need to finish this mission and get back to the game. Gar-ar! With a sonic boom, the dragon shark vanished into the horizon. 6 hours later. Viridian City, Kanto. Ugh. That was a solid sleep. Cliff sat up in his cramped rental, stretching until his joints popped. He reached for his phone, expecting maybe a handful of pity buys from curious browsers. He stared at the screen. Psyduck TV notification, Pokémon Emerald has sold 1,823 copies today. The number ticked up to 1,824 as he watched. What? Cliff's jaw dropped. He had wanted to set a low entry price for his first project, but the system had enforced a strict $288 floor, claiming quality demands its price. He'd gone to bed certain he'd wake up to zero sales. But then, the system's golden text appeared, ding. Emotional points earned during sleep, 720. Livestream audience, 320 points, game buyers, 100 points, special contribution, shock and anticipation from Sinnoh champion Cynthia, 300 points. Cynthia. Streamed it? Cliff whispered, the realization hitting him like a thunderbolt. No wonder. The most powerful woman in Sinnoh had just given him the world's best marketing for free. He grinned, ready to open the system panel and spend his new points on advanced modules. Then, he felt it. A sudden, icy draft. The hair on his arms stood up. Something was behind him. He spun around, expecting a drafty window. Instead, he found himself inches away from a pair of hollow, glowing green eyes. Above them, a sickly pale blue flame flickered atop a white, waxy head. A scream ripped from Cliff's throat, echoing through the thin walls of the apartment. Oh my God! A ghost! Awa! In this world, Pokémon were an inextricable part of the human fabric. Harmony between humans and Pokémon wasn't just a political slogan, it was the bedrock of reality. Since his arrival, Cliff had grown accustomed to the sight of Meowth grooming themselves on street corners, girls cradling Eevee in the park, and flocks of Pidgey weaving through the skyscrapers. However, over the past week, Cliff had barely stepped outside. His rent was due, and his survival depended on the flickering light of his monitor. He hadn't shared a meaningful moment with a single living Pokémon. Until now. He stumbled back, his heart hammering against his ribs, but as the initial shock faded, his producer's eye took over. Candle-shaped. Deep navy flame. Pale, waxy body. A lit wick, he breathed. And it's a shiny. His pulse quickened with a different kind of tension. Ghost types were rare in urban centers, they were usually found in desolate ruins, feeding on the life force of the unwary. Litwick were notorious for their deceptive charm, guiding travelers through the dark only to slowly siphon their souls until their flames burned bright and the traveler was a hollow shell. The room was deathly silent. Man and Pokémon stared at each other, green eyes meeting brown. Cliff took a tentative step back, then another. The Litwick didn't move. Despite the proximity, he didn't feel the sudden onset of lethargy or the chill of the grave associated with soul draining. He's not eating me, Cliff realized. He looked closer. The flame atop the Litwick's head was a mere spark, sputtering as if the slightest draft would snuff it out. If it had spent the night draining him, it should be roaring with power. Instead, it looked like it was on its last legs. Hello? Cliff waved a hand, his voice cracking slightly. Mob, the Litwick chirped, a soft, melodic sound. Cliff frowned. What are you trying to say? Mob. Mob. The Litwick's movements grew frantic. It tilted its head, the flame swaying like a directional arrow pointing toward its own rounded midsection. Its stomach? Cliff guessed. Are you hungry? The Litwick nodded vigorously. Stay right there. Don't move. I'll get you something. Cliff bolted from the room. Left alone, the Litwick tilted its head, watching the door with wide, emerald eyes. The human left? But he said food. I hope it's food. I'm so hungry. But I can't eat the human. It makes them feel bad. I don't like it when they feel bad. The Pokémon industry was a behemoth. Even in a remote corner of Viridian City, a 24-hour Pokemart sat just a block away. Cliff withdrew a portion of his earnings, 2,000 Poke Dollars, and marched into the shop. He ignored the standard kibble and headed straight for the occult selection. He purchased the most expensive ghost-type supplement available. A specialized blend designed to mimic the energy of a soul without actually harming anyone. It was a temporary fix, a high-calorie energy drink for spirits, but it would stop the hunger. He hurried back and set the tin in front of the Litwick. Here. Eat up. The Litwick sniffed the dark, shimmering paste. Its eyes lit up like lanterns. Mob. It dove in, face first. The food vanished at a rate that stunned Cliff. How many days has it been since this little guy last ate? Halfway through the tin, the Litwick finally slowed. The flame on its head began to burn with a steady, healthy navy glow. Mob, it let out a satisfied sigh, its eyes crinkling with warmth as it looked at Cliff. Glad you liked it, Cliff said, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. $2,000 was a lot, but seeing the little guy recover was worth every cent. However, the communication barrier was still a problem. He could guess the meaning from context, but he needed precision. System, detection of host requirement, Pokémon linguistics. Recommended module, Pokémon language translator, basic, effect, grants the ability to understand any Pokémon. Synchronizes in-game cries with real-world vocalizations for maximum immersion. Cost, 100 emotional points. Sold, Cliff thought. He had over 600 points. This was an essential investment for both his life and his career. Purchase successful. Current balance, 562 points. Cliff turned back to the Litwick. Feel better? Mob. I'm full. Thank you, human. Cliff froze. The voice in his head was clear, though it retained a childish, bubbly lilt. How long were you in here? Mob. A long time. You were busy playing with the big metal box. I waited for you to sleep. So I could eat you. Cliff felt a cold shiver. Straight to the point, huh? Then why didn't you? The Litwick paused, its little waxy body swaying. Mob. Because. That makes people feel bad. I don't want you to feel bad. Cliff stared at it. It was like finding a stray kitten that refused to hunt because it didn't want the birds to be sad. He didn't hesitate. He knelt down and extended a hand. In that case, do you want to stay with me? I'll handle the food. You'll never be hungry again, and you'll never have to make anyone feel bad by taking their soul. The Litwick's eyes went wide. It began to bounce around Cliff's feet in a joyous blur. Mob. Human is good. Thank you, human. Cliff laughed, picking the little candle up. Then let's look after each other, Litwick. The ghost type felt like soft, bouncy jelly in his hands. It wasn't cold, it was surprisingly warm. Wait. Warm? Actually, it's getting hot. Cliff looked down. Oh, my shirt's on fire. Wait. On fire? Fire. Ack. Cold water. Panic. 5 minutes later, Cliff dumped a pile of charred fabric into the trash. He was now wearing an old, patched-up undershirt, sighing as he looked at the soot on the floor. He'd forgotten, Litwick was a fire type, too. That flame wasn't just for show. He glanced at the corner. Litwick had already curled up against the wall, fast asleep. The flame on its head had dimmed to a tiny, peaceful ember. Cliff sat back at his computer. The sales for Pokémon Emerald had hit 2,125. The rapid surge from Cynthia's stream had leveled off, but the points were still trickling in from players experiencing the game's brutal difficulty. With over 450,000 Poké-dollars in his digital wallet, he was no longer a starving artist. But money wasn't the goal anymore. He looked at the system's vast library of modules, card game modules, roguelike engines, 4K graphics. His cursor hovered over Intelligence Module, Basic, 500 points. It was expensive, but it was the key to his vision. He wanted to build more than a game, he wanted to build a world. In his previous life, he'd always regretted that his Pokémon partners were just data, unable to truly share his joy or sorrow. And in this world, he saw the same tragedy. Not everyone could be a trainer. Most were crushed by the weight of reality, by the cost of travel and the demands of survival. They lived in gray cities, their childhood dreams of adventure slowly eroding under the pressure of a 9-to-5. Cliff wanted his games to be a second chance for everyone. A chance to climb to the top. A chance to find a friend in a lonely world. A chance to see the wonders of the horizon from a cramped rental room. These games were embers. And one day, Cliff intended to set the whole world on fire. After the adrenaline of his encounter with Litwick faded, Cliff forced himself to calm down. Ambition was a powerful fuel, but he needed a steady hand to steer it. To set the world on fire, he had to take it one step at a time. He surveyed his current position. Pokémon Emerald was his beachhead. Its success would determine his reputation and his ability to farm the emotional points required for high-tier modules. The game had been uploaded during the league's new Indie Fest, a 4-month competition where the winner received the Golden Ball Award and massive official promotion. Popular hits like Angry Stone had bypassed the fest, but their success was largely due to the league's backing. If Cliff wanted that same reach, he had to win. But the odds were stacked against him. The festival only had 1 month left, and Emerald had just launched. Worse, the industry behemoth Dream Factory had announced a new title for the final 2 weeks. In the public eye, Dream Factory's victory was a foregone conclusion. Their funding and manpower were insurmountable for any indie dev. But Cliff looked at his system panel, filled with black tech modules like mid-tier, brain-computer interface virtual reality, and felt a surge of cold confidence. VR technology was merely a mid-tier module in his system. He couldn't even imagine what the high-tier ones held. 1 month is enough, Cliff thought. Winning the Golden Ball required popularity, player ratings, and, crucially, completeness. He needed to push the main story forward. Overnight, he had coded the logic for the path to the first major hub, Petalburg City. In the original game, the Petalburg gym was run by the protagonist's father, Norman. It was a normal-type gauntlet that players couldn't challenge until they were much stronger. The first real challenge lay further ahead in Rustboro City, where the rock-type expert Roxanne waited. In the Ultra Emerald version Cliff was adapting, Roxanne was a notorious noob killer. Her optimized team, featuring a terrifyingly defensive Lilip, had made countless players question their life choices. Cliff intended to make her even more educational. He activated the newly purchased Intelligence module, Basic, and began weaving it into the code. The next morning, on the Skitty streaming platform, a rising titan that rivaled Psyduck TV, channels were flickering to life. In a room titled, Bringing the Laughs with 10 Million Volts, a girl with pastel pink hair and sharp, cute fangs stretched lazily before the camera. She wore an oversized yellow and black jacket, her signature Magnemite-shaped hair clips bobbing. Ciao. Good morning, everyone. Did you miss me? The chat exploded. IONO. IONO. The goddess of Lavintia is live. Iono's only fan, gifted 10 supercars. This was Iono, the electric-type gym leader of Lavintia in the Paldea region. Unlike Cynthia, she was a professional influencer. Her gym's popularity was entirely built on her viral content and high-energy engagement. Within minutes, her viewership soared past 500,000. Ha ha! Thank you for the support, everyone. Now, we were supposed to do an outdoor hike today, but... She panned the camera to the window, revealing a depressing wall of gray clouds and rain. Nature clearly has other plans. Iono's face closed in on the lens, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Since we can't hike, let's do a special event. Bellybolt, bring it over. A stout, green Pokémon with a bulging brown stomach waddled toward the desk. Bellybolt had set a cardboard box down with a dull thud. Thanks, buddy. Now, in this box are hundreds of viewer-recommended activities. I'll pull one out as today's special project. This was a classic Iono segment. She'd pick a lucky viewer and do whatever they asked, singing, watching a movie, or trying a new game. She reached in and pulled out a crumpled slip of paper. Fan-recommended game. Ooh. A game request. Iono giggled, her fingers dancing across the interface. Our lucky winner is user E5763. I'm starting the call. A nervous, male voice stuttered through the speakers. Hello? Iono? I've been a fan for years. I never thought I'd actually talk to you. You're amazing. Wow, thank you so much. Your support keeps me going. Iono's sweet smile was blinding. So, Starlight, what game are we playing today? The voice hesitated. Well, Yesterday, my friend told me about a game they saw on Cynthia's stream. Even the champion seemed obsessed with it. It's called Pokémon Emerald? Could you try that one? Iono paused. Pokémon Emerald? She knew Cynthia occasionally streamed Battle Path, but the champion wasn't exactly a hardcore gamer. Intrigued, Iono searched the new IndieFest page. Price, $288, style, pixel art, status, beta test. The chat immediately went hostile. Whoa, dude. $288 for pixels? Are you trying to scam our girl? This looks super sketchy. Starlight, did your friend troll you? Iono-chan, let's play Angry Stone instead. This pixel garbage isn't worth it. But a few Cynthia stream survivors fought back. Don't talk trash if you didn't see the stream yesterday. It's better than anything Dream Factory has put out in years. It's worth every penny. Cynthia literally forgot to read her chat because she was so locked in. Seeing the tension rise, Iono took decisive action. She clicked purchase and paid the $288 without blinking. Everyone, calm down. I know you're worried about me getting scammed, but I love trying new things. Starlight's recommendation is valid, and I'm a professional content creator. Let me be the poison tester for you all. Let's see if this Cliff guy is a genius or just eyeing our wallets. She clicked download. To her surprise, a massive update was waiting. Update log, version 0.1, added skip intro functionality. Implemented full AI integration. Players can now use voice or text to interact with NPCs in Pokémon. NPC tactical intelligence has been slightly increased, expanded map to Rustboro City. The first gym challenge is now live. Iono's eyes widened at the second line. Full AI integration? For a pixel game? Full AI, she murmured. Even Battle Path only has partial AI, and it's hundreds of gigabytes. How does a few hundred megs have full AI? She felt a sinking feeling in her stomach. Oh, no. My poor fan. He definitely got scammed, didn't he? Despite her growing suspicion that this was a high-priced scam, Iono knew the streamer's code. The game was bought, the announcement was made. And the show had to go on. With a theatrical sigh for her audience, she dove in. Standard WASD controls? Let's see how she moves. As her character hopped out of the moving truck, Iono's fangs poked out in a small O of surprise. She had played dozens of pixel titles, but the clarity here was breathtaking. It wasn't just retro, it was a living, breathing digital painting. The chat echoed her sentiment. Since when do indies look this clean? Okay, maybe the graphics justify some of that price. But is it actually fun? Iono breezed through the tutorial. When she reached the Save the Professor event, she chose Torchic for the fight, but as she returned to the lab, a new prompt flickered. Note, intelligent interaction unlocked. Press E to use voice or text commands with any NPC or Pokémon. Iono's brow arched. Full AI? In a few hundred megabytes? No way. Testing the scam, she faced Professor Birch and pressed E. Hey, Prof. Can I have an electric type instead? I'm the Lavincia gym leader, you know. Fire just isn't my vibe. She expected a generic I don't understand or for him to ignore her. Instead, the pixelated Birch nodded slowly. Oh? A specialist in electric types? You should have said so earlier. I happen to have a very special partner in the back. But if you want to take her with you, you have to tell me, why do you love electric Pokémon so much? Iono froze. Wait. Did he actually hear me? The chat was equally stunned. Keyword detection, one viewer suggested. The dev probably just set electric as a trigger for a hidden Easter egg. Still, for an indie to have that kind of branching dialogue. That's insane. Iono decided to lean into it. She cleared her throat and spoke with genuine passion. Because electric types are pure energy. They've got that lightning speed and explosive power. Being with them makes me feel like I'm at 10 million volts. They're the ultimate hypemon. Professor Birch clapped his hands. Wonderful. Such passion. I personally love Pikachu, their lightning bolt tails are just too cute to resist. Now, I think I have just the one for you. He walked over to a machine, and a Pokeball with a yellow bolt symbol materialized. Out popped a fluffy, white wool sheep with a blue and yellow striped tail. A Mareep. Iono's eyes sparkled. A Mareep. She's perfect. Thanks, Prof. She spent the next 10 minutes testing the limits. She didn't just talk to NPCs, she asked them nonsense. Professor, which is better, miso soup or curry? Birch looked genuinely confused for a second. What a strange question. But if I had to choose, it's curry. Potatoes and carrots are a must, and I prefer beef over chicken. It stews better. Iono's jaw dropped. The chat went into a frenzy. That's not keyword detection. That's a full LLM, large language model, integrated into a pixel game. How did he fit that into the file size? Is this black magic? Iono's gamer instincts were screaming. This wasn't a small studio project. This had to be a secret Dream Factory flagship or a government experiment. No individual could code an AI this responsive. She eventually left the lab, her character now followed by the fluffy Mareep. When she commanded Pet Mareep's head, her character actually knelt down. The Mareep squinted its eyes, let out a happy bleat, and a heart symbol popped up over its head. It even trotted forward to nuzzle the character's ankles. The bond system is incredible. Iono squealed. She headed north, bypassing the rival fight that had crushed Cynthia, as the 0.1 update had adjusted the pacing. She was feeling confident, her Mareep trotting happily behind her, when a thick, brownish fog suddenly swirled across the screen, obscuring the path. Ooh, an event? From the mist, a high-octane orchestral theme kicked in, the kind of music that signaled an epic encounter. A man with blue hair and a rose in his mouth stepped forward. To find out the answer to such a question. A woman with long, flowing red hair followed, striking a pose that screamed theatrical villainy. Is our great pleasure to provide. The screen transitioned into a cosmic, star-filled backdrop as they began a choreographed routine. To protect the world from devastation. To unite all peoples within our nation. To denounce the evils of truth and love. To extend our reach to the stars above. Jesse. James. Team Rocket, blast off at the speed of light. Surrender now, or prepare to fight. Meowth. That's right. A Meowth with a gold coin on its forehead jumped into the center, wearing a triumphant grin. The livestream chat was dead silent for 3 full seconds before the dam broke. What the? Team Rocket? The organization that vanished 2 years ago after the League crackdown? Why do they look like a comedy troupe? Is the dev crazy? Using Team Rocket as NPCs is a death wish. But Iono's attention was elsewhere. Her eyes were fixed on the screen. Wait. Did that Meowth just talk? Like actual human speech? The viewers finally noticed. It's a game, Iono. Pokémon talk in games all the time. No, look at the text box. The NPCs reacted to him talking like it was normal. There's no way a Meowth can talk in real life. If it can, I'll eat my hat. Thousands of miles away, in a dusty, dimly lit warehouse. Achoo! A Meowth sitting on a ragged sofa rubbed his nose, his eyes suddenly tearing up. Ha! Did the boss finally remember me, Naya? Viridian City. Cliff's rental room. Cliff sat in the dim glow of his monitors, eyes tracing the stream of live data. The night before, while coding the gym logic, a thought had struck him. In the original Ultra Emerald, players were given a dizzying array of starter choices from every generation. If you found certain Easter eggs, you could even start with 2. Since his version was exponentially harder, he needed to give the players a similar, balanced degree of freedom. Combining this with his new AI module, he'd coded a special mechanic. If a player used the voice system to tell Professor Birch they wanted a different starter type, it triggered a hidden event. Birch would offer a random, non-legendary Pokémon of that type with a base stat total of at least 500. It was a massive boon, the ability to bypass the standard grass-fire-water trio. But every gift in Insane Mode had a price. Activating the special starter flag replaced several standard rival battles with encounters against a specific, legendary trio, Team Rocket. Jesse, James, and the Talking Meowth. Cliff hadn't designed them to be punchlines. In his game, they were elite roadblocks. When the player reached the road to Petalburg, they'd meet the trio for the first time. Their Pokémon, Coughing and Ekans, would be level synced to the player. More importantly, they boasted perfect IVs, optimized EVs, and competitive held items. They were always capable, Cliff muttered, a nostalgic smile tugging at his lips. They only failed because they spent their lives chasing a god-tier Pikachu. If they actually focused on winning, they'd be terrifying. He'd infused them with his own appreciation for the original series. Whether or not a Team Rocket actually existed in this world was a question for another day. For now, they existed in his code as the ultimate testers of a player's resolve. Iono's livestream. The chat was a riot of theories about Team Rocket when Jesse and James stepped forward on Iono's screen. Hand over your Pokémon, brat. We've got a quota to fill. Rocket Trio Jesse and James challenged you. A burst of light. A Coughing appeared, level 11, exactly matching Iono's Mareep. Same level? 2-on-1? Iono murmured. Should be a walk in the park for a professional. She commanded Mareep to use Thundershock. A crackle of yellow energy slammed into the Coughing, carving out half its health bar. Iono's fangs poked out in a confident grin. But then, the Coughing opened its mouth, spewing a concentrated jet of purple sludge. Coughing used Venoshock. A critical hit. Mareep's health bar vanished instantly. Iono. Chat? Wait, what was that damage? Iono shrieked. Even a crit shouldn't do that. Coughing. Since when are you a nuke? Jesse and James reappeared on screen, their pixelated sprites looking down on her. Pathetic. The boss wouldn't even want a Pokémon this week. Come on, James, let's find a real trainer. Right behind you, Jesse. The screen faded to black. Iono has no more usable Pokémon. Your vision faded. Iono respawned in Oldale Town, her expression a mix of shock and irritation. She realized then that the insane warning wasn't flavor text. But difficulty was the spice of life. She immediately went into strategist mode. Okay, the Venoshock was a crit, she told her viewers. Crits are RNG, luck-based. Normally, Mareep can take 2 hits. If I move first, I can land 2 Thundershocks and win. But wait. They have a second Pokémon. Even if I win the first round, Mareep will be at half HP. I need a way to win without taking damage. She checked her moves. Thunder Wave. She marched back to the clearing, skipping the intro and diving straight into the fight. Let's go. Thunder Wave. A pulse of electricity rippled through Coughing. An orange par icon appeared on its status bar. Coughing is paralyzed. It can't move. Coughing shuddered, its turn completely skipped. Iono's eyes lit up. Yes. If I keep him locked down, Mareep can sweep. The chat was impressed. Iono with the big brain plays. Is paralysis always that strong? This feels like a cheat code. Confident, Iono selected Thundershock. Coughing's health dropped to red. One more hit and it was over. But then, the paralysis didn't trigger. Coughing shook off the static and spat another Venoshock. Coughing used Venoshock. A critical hit. Mareep fainted. Iono stared at the whited-out screen again. Are you kidding me? Another crit? Is the crit rate bugged? After a few more failed attempts, she checked the game's internal manual. Ah! Paralysis cuts speed in half, but only has a 25% chance to skip a turn. It's not a lock, it's a gamble. Her respect for the developer deepened. The mechanics were incredibly faithful to the complex reality of status conditions. It took 7 tries. Finally, RNG favored her. Coughing was locked down for 2 turns, and Mareep swept it with 2 thunder shocks. Then came James's Pokémon, Ekans. As it hissed onto the field, a red ripple surrounded Mareep. Ekans' Intimidate lowered Mareep's attack. Iono exhaled. Okay, so it has Intimidate, not Shed Skin. If it had Shed Skin, it could heal the paralysis every turn. And Mareep is a special attacker, so the attack drop doesn't matter. This is winnable. She locked the Ekans down with Thunder Wave. The snake tried to use Crunch, but it flinched. 1 turn later, Mareep finished it with a final bolt. Yes! Iono cheered, throwing her hands up. The Team Rocket trio retreated. You annoying brat! Just you wait, we'll be back. Meowth, that's a bad feeling, Naya. Iono felt a strange rush. In real-life battling, failure meant a long wait for Pokémon recovery and healing. The game allowed for instant retrials, the just one more go loop was addictive. She was hooked. She continued to Petalburg City, meeting her father Norman at the gym and helping a boy named Wally catch his first Ralts. Then, she entered the Petalburg woods. Amidst the thick foliage, she encountered a Joltik. She caught it instantly. Ta-da! Time for Iono's electric masterclass, she announced, her energy returning to 100%. We all know electric types are the kings of speed and offense, but they have a fatal flaw, ground types. Electricity does 0 damage to them. She began to pace, virtually. But every specialist has to overcome their weaknesses. Grass and Dragon are also resistant. This Joltik? It's part bug type. That gives me coverage against grass. My goal is clear, I'm building a mono-electric team to conquer this game. The chat cheered her on. Spoken like a true gym leader. Mono-electric versus the world. Let's go. Iono stretched, her fangs showing in a wide smile. The first gym is coming up. It's probably not ground or rock, right? That'd be way too mean for a first boss. We've got this. She marched her character toward the exit of the woods, headed for Rustboro City, and the rock-type expert, Roxanne. As Iono confidently steered her character toward the next leg of her journey, the livestream chat was a harvest of praise and heated debate. At this rate, the first gym is as good as cleared. Iono's outpacing Cynthia. Our girl is making us proud. Hey, hold on. Cynthia only stopped because of a league mission. If she were still playing, she'd be at the Elite Four by now. She's a champion, you think a gym leader AI is going to stop her? Iono ignored the banter. Her focus narrowing as she entered the heart of Petalburg Woods. The plot thickened as she stumbled upon a Devon Corporation researcher being ambushed by a Team Aqua grunt. She intervened, handily defeating the grunt's Poochyena and earning a great ball as a reward. But she didn't leave immediately. Iono was a professional, she knew the value of the grind. She stayed in the tall grass until both her Joltik and Mareep hit the level 15 cap. Only then did she step out of the tree lane and into the sprawling, modern marvel of Rustboro City. The pixelated skyscrapers and bustling stone-paved streets were breathtaking. Iono healed her team at the Pokémon Center and marched straight to the gym doors. I'm ready, she whispered, a sharp glint in her eyes. Let's see what a real gym challenge looks like from the other side. She entered the building. But the first thing that caught her eye was a massive brown sign shaped like a boulder. Rustboro GYM, Iono's smile faltered. Rock type? The chat went into a hysterical frenzy. Ha ha ha. It's actually rock. The one type she said it wouldn't be. The universe is definitely trolling her. Is the AI listening to the stream? Maybe the gym type changes based on your starter? If so, this dev is a genius sadist. Iono took a deep, stabilizing breath. Okay, so it's rock. Big deal. At least it's not ground. Electricity still hits rock types for neutral damage, and Joltik's bug type moves are great against fossils. We've got this. She pushed through the gym, easily sweeping the junior trainers. However, her headache returned when she realized the rock specialists were using Sandshrew and Diglett, ground types. Her Joltik's bug bite saved her, but the warning was clear: Roxanne wasn't going to play fair. Finally, she stood before the leader. Roxanne, a girl with twin tails and a sharp, academic suit, adjusted her glasses. I shall show you the solid, unyielding heart of the rock type, Roxanne declared. She tossed a pokeball. A white flash revealed a strange, purple, bulbous Pokémon with pink tentacles swaying around its head. Lileep. A Lileep? Iono blinked. Being a Paldine specialist, she recognized it as an ancient fossil Pokémon, but she had never faced one in combat. Wait. That's rock and grass. She swapped to Joltik immediately. In gym battles, the first switch was a free action, a faithful recreation of league rules. Rock/grass? Then bug bite is the answer. Go, Joltik. Joltik lunged, mandibles glowing with green energy. Joltik used bug bite. It's super effective. The chat cheered, but the cheer died in their throats. Lileep's health bar barely moved, a mere sliver of red disappeared. How tanky is this thing? Iono yelled. Lileep's tentacles glowed with an eerie, flickering light. Lileep used Confuse Ray. Joltik became confused. Then, a small blue sparkle appeared around the Lileep. Lileep's leftovers restored its HP. The tiny bit of damage Joltik had dealt vanished instantly. Iono. Chat? Wait, why does the first gym boss have leftovers? Iono shrieked. That's a competitive tier-held item. Is she serious? The battle became a nightmare of attrition. Joltik, trapped in confusion, began hitting itself. Lileep sat there, soaking up damage and healing it back every turn. Between the confusion and the sheer defensive bulk of a Max 4 Lileep, Iono's team was systematically dismantled without Lileep ever dropping below 90% health. You have no more usable Pokémon. Your vision faded, the chat was a waterfall of 666 and Roxanne is a god. I've never seen a boss sweep a player with a single Pokémon. This isn't a game, it's a lecture on why you shouldn't use monotypes. Iono respawned, her fangs bared in a determined scowl. She marched right back to the gym. Okay, I see your game, Roxanne. You're a stallbot. But I have a counter. It worked on Team Rocket, and it'll work on you, the Thunder Wave strategy. She explained to her viewers, Lileep isn't a ground type. It can be paralyzed. If I can lock it down, it can't use Confuse Ray. Then, Joltik and Mareep can slowly whittle it down. She also realized she needed her own items. She equipped both her Pokémon with orange berries she'd found earlier. The rematch began. This time, the RNG god smiled. Joltik landed Thunder Wave on the first turn. Lileep was paralyzed. For 4 straight turns, the fossil Pokémon was locked in a spasm, unable to act. Joltik's Electro Ball and Bug Bite finally began to tell. Lileep's health bar turned yellow, then dipped toward red. Yes. Keep it up. We're actually doing it. Iono's voice was high with excitement. The chat was rooting for her. The luck is real. One more hit and the fossil is extinct. Joltik launched another Electro Ball. Lileep was at roughly 30% health. It was paralyzed again. Iono was grinning, her finger poised over the keyboard for the final blow. Her Joltik was low on health, and its PP was running dry, but the finish line was in sight. Then, the paralysis didn't trigger. Lilip looked up, and a brilliant, warm white light descended from the ceiling. Wait! What move is that? Iono's heart sank. Lilip used synthesis. Lilip restored its HP. In a wash of light, the health bar surged back up to 70%. Lilip's leftovers restored its HP back to 80%. Full health was only a turn or two away. Iono's Joltik was out of bug bite PP. Her Mareep was already fainted. Iono stared at the screen, her hands dropping from the keyboard. The fossil Pokémon sat there, paralyzed but nearly fully healed, looking back at her with its hollow, glowing eyes. Iono leaned back in her chair, a look of profound, soul-tired defeat on her face. Guys! She whispered to the 500,000 people watching. I think I want to go offline now. Viridian City. Cliff's rental room. A cascade of golden notifications flooded Cliff's vision, cutting through his focus. Ding! Congratulations, host! You have earned 320 points from the shock, confusion, and obsession of special character, Iono. Ding! Additional 430 points harvested from livestream viewers and active players. Total current balance, 923 emotional points. Cliff leaned back. A low whistle escaping his lips. He had expected Cynthia to be his main investor, but it seemed Iono had taken the baton and was running a marathon with it. He quickly pulled up her stream. On screen, Iono's face was a vibrant shade of frustrated crimson. She had just been forcibly teleported back to the Rustboro Pokémon Center for the 11th time. The chat was relentless. She's officially in debt to the tune of $15,000 in-game. This is a tragedy. That Lilip isn't a Pokémon, it's a geological disaster. I bet there's something even meaner waiting behind the fossil. Cliff smirked. He knew exactly why she was stuck. In the original Ultra Emerald, Roxanne was a gatekeeper, but in his insane mode, she was a god. Her Lilip boasted maxed-out defensive IVs, synthesis for recovery, and Confuse Ray to break the player's tempo. Even at its base stage, a Lilip's defenses approached a staggering 100. It was a literal wall. And that was just the start. Roxanne still had her Anorith with explosive physical power, a Cranidos equipped with Fire Punch and Thunder Punch for coverage, and a Nosepass holding leftovers that utilized Power Gem and Dazzling Gleam. Even her Rockruff was a threat with Hyper Voice and Earth Power. Statistics and mechanics in perfect, cruel harmony, Cliff whispered. To keep the game tight, he had scaled Roxanne's team down to 3 core members for the beta, Anorith, Lilip, and Cranidos. But with the insane mode buffs and high-level AI, they were more dangerous than a full team of 6 standard Pokémon. He knew some players might quit, but he wasn't worried. The market was flooded with hand-holding games. There was a desperate hunger for true challenge, for the feeling of standing atop a summit that others couldn't even climb. However, Cliff's vision went beyond just hard. He wanted story. He wanted to build the standard and adventure modes later, where the focus was on immersion and emotion. But good storytelling was expensive. It required script writing, specialized art, cinematic music, and perfect pacing. He looked at the mid-tier modules he had saved in his wishlist. Emotional Resonance, mid-tier, 2. 200 points, syncs screen tones and music to the player's real-time heart rate. Presence of Power, mid-tier, 2000 points, transmits the pressure of legendary Pokémon directly to the player's mind via electronic frequency. Soul Melody, mid-tier, 1500 points, generates music that triggers specific emotional core responses. Cinematic CG, mid-tier, 1400 points, auto-generates 4K Blu-ray quality cutscenes. Total cost, nearly 10,000 points. He couldn't afford those yet. He needed to keep farming Iono and the others. He turned his gaze to the basic tier shop and began a calculated shopping spree. Purchased, production efficiency boost, basic, 450 points, description, significantly increases the speed of solo game development. This was his most vital purchase. As a solo dev with his system secret, he couldn't hire a team. He was the writer, the coder, and the artist. If he didn't increase his efficiency, the players would eventually catch up to his dev cycle, and the hype would die. With his remaining 500 points, he picked up Weather System, Basic, adds dynamic weather, rain, sandstorm, etc., with mechanical impact on battles. Skill Particle FX, Basic, enhances move animations with high-fidelity visual particles. NPC Personality Matrix, Basic, gives NPCs unique quirks and more realistic conversational AI. His balance dropped to single digits, but Cliff didn't feel anxious. He felt prepared. Every point spent was a hook into the player's soul. Canalave City, Sinnoh. The evening fog rolled in from the harbor, cloaking the bustling port city in a silver haze. In a quiet, shadowed alley away from the tourist traps, a woman in a long coat and sunglasses came to a halt. "You're ahead of schedule again," Cynthia said softly, her voice echoing off the brick walls. "Sorry to keep you waiting." A shadow detached itself from a nearby doorway. A young man in a sharp black suit, his dark hair cropped short, offered a playful grin. "Not at all, Sister Cynthia. You know I like to scout the terrain." His smile flickered, replaced by a touch of professional frustration. He scratched the back of his neck. "About that developer you're looking for. We have a bit of a situation." Cynthia's brow arched behind her lenses. "A situation?" The man clicked his tongue, a bitter laugh escaping him. "To put it simply, I've confirmed the game is the work of a single individual. No studio. No team." Cynthia's eyes widened. "One person created that intro? That AI? But here's the kicker," the man continued, gesturing toward a nearby door. "There is absolutely zero record of this person in the League's central database. No ID, no tax, nothing. Let's head inside, the food's getting cold, and this story is going to take a while to digest." Inside the dry-aging room of an exclusive restaurant. The soft glow of spotlights caught the intricate marbling of deep crimson beef. On a cast-iron grill, a steak was flipped with a rhythmic sizzle, sending the aroma of seared fat and cracked black pepper into the air. A waiter in white gloves glided past the ornate ironwork of a vintage elevator, accompanied by the soothing notes of a live piano. Cynthia tore a piece of crusty white bread and dipped it into the rich juice on her plate. "So, you're saying his information is protected by the League?" The young man across from her took a sip of juice and nodded. "Exactly. I searched the standard databases and found nothing. At first, I thought he was just an unregistered citizen, but that didn't make sense. To upload a game to the official portal, you must provide valid ID. The League doesn't let ghosts publish software." He leaned in closer. "That leaves only one possibility: his identity is scrubbed from the public side and moved to the hidden database. It's a black box archive." Cynthia's elegant eyebrows rose. "As I suspected. The hidden database wasn't for common criminals, it was a sanctuary designed for individuals whose safety was a matter of global security. Not even her own records as the Sinnoh champion were stored there. Only geniuses with world-altering technology or figures of immense geopolitical weight received that level of shielding." "I could try to breach it," the young man offered, stabbing a piece of steak. "I'm not 100% sure, but I'd give myself a 30% chance of success. Maybe 40 if I really push it." Cynthia shook her head gently, setting her bread down. "No, wheat. I appreciate the offer, but if it involves hitting a Tier 1 hidden server, we drop it." The young man, known as Wheat, looked stunned. "Why? I thought you were desperate for this guy's contact info?" He knew her well. To the world, Cynthia was the flawless, untouchable champion. But to those in her inner circle, she was a woman possessed by ancient myths. When a lead on a legend like the sky dragon Rayquaza appeared, she usually wouldn't let anything stand in her way. The risk is too high, Cynthia said firmly. You already got flagged once for accessing high-tier files just to find my location. If the leak catches you poking around the hidden database, a letter of self-reflection won't save you this time. Cough, cough. Wheat nearly choked on his steak. He pounded his chest for a few seconds before recovering. Sis, we agreed never to bring that up. I was young and my terminal was slow back then. Things are different now. I can ghost their tracers before they even wake up. No. It's unnecessary, Cynthia insisted. If his status is that high, I should respect his rules. His rules? Wheat chewed thoughtfully. The game, Emerald, Cynthia nodded. The rule is simple, be the first to clear it, and you get the contact info. I'll earn it the right way. Ha! You should have said so. I'm a pro gamer, Wheat bragged, puffing out his chest. Give it to me. I'll clear it in minutes. What is it? A racer? A shooter? A card game? Cynthia just looked at him, pity in her eyes. She remembered thinking the same thing. How hard could a Pokémon battle simulator be? Then strawberry ice cream had been wiped out twice by a rival kid. It's different, she said finally. It's a battle sim, but the difficulty is substantial. Wheat froze, his fork halfway to his mouth. Substantial? Cynthia, the woman at the pinnacle of the trainer world, was calling a simulation difficult? Just how brutal was this game? I'll send you a copy later, Cynthia added. Try it when you have a free moment. Wheat shrugged, instantly backing down. Sure, but I'm pretty busy. Might take a while. Cynthia saw through him but didn't push. She shifted the conversation to a darker topic. Has the expansion of the black holes accelerated? Yeah, Wheat's playful tone vanished. The last one was easy enough to patch, but a new one opened in Hoenn this afternoon. The energy fluctuations were off the charts. I have to fly out tonight. Cynthia's gaze dimmed. You're working too hard. Look who's talking, Wheat countered. I heard the distortion world hasn't been quiet lately either. Cynthia remained silent for a moment before standing up. No matter how hard it gets, it will pass. We do our duty for the sake of the innocent. That's enough. She nodded to him, finished her drink, and turned to leave. Take care of yourself, Wheat. Don't overdo it. You too, sis. Catch you later. Wheat watched her graceful exit, a surge of admiration in his chest. That's the mentor I want to be one day. A waiter approached the table. Excuse me, sir. We noticed your companion has departed. Would you like the check? Did she pay on the way out? Wheat asked. No, sir. She walked straight to the elevator. Wheat blinked. Oh. Right. So. What's the total? 13,250 poke dollars, sir. QR or card? Wheat. Didn't she say she was treating me? Why did I order the dry-aged Wagyu? He looked at his near-empty wallet. Do you take IOUs? High above, sitting comfortably on Garchomp's back, Cynthia had a sudden, fleeting thought. Wait. Did I forget something back there? Meh, probably not important. Garchomp, home. We have a gym to conquer. 2 hours later, she was back in her villa, the glow of the monitor illuminating her determined face. She booted up Emerald and turned on her livestream. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm back. The chat erupted instantly, but one comment stood out. Hurry up, Nana. Iono is already at the first gym. Iono? Cynthia murmured. She knew the girl, talented, a bit flashy, but a solid electric-type specialist. She pulled up Iono's stream on her phone and watched for a moment. Iono was a mess. Her face was flushed with gamer rage, her hands clenched. Paralyze. Just stay paralyzed. It healed again. Cynthia watched as Iona was unceremoniously sent back to the Pokémon Center. Is the first gym really that taxing? Then, she saw the Lilip on Iona's screen. Cynthia froze. She knew that shape. She took a screenshot, attached it to a message, and sent it to a contact named Professor Oak. Cynthia, Professor, take a look. Is this the fossil Pokémon you were talking about? Professor Oak was the world's leading authority, but Cynthia knew he was currently chairing a massive international summit. She didn't expect a reply for hours. Her phone vibrated instantly. It was a direct call from Oak. Cynthia muted her stream mic. Professor? Aren't you in the middle of a global seminar? This is infinitely more important. Oak's voice was breathless, coming through the speaker like a gale. Cynthia, where did you get this image? It's a pixel render, yes, but the anatomical markers. It's a near-perfect match for our theoretical model. In fact, some of the detail in the tentacle structure is better than our best projections. It's from a game called Pokémon Emerald. Cynthia replied. A long silence followed. A game? Oak's brain seemed to stutter. He had expected the image to come from a rival fossil lab. After a minute of explanation, Oak finally understood. So, the dev is a mystery, and you have to beat the game to find him? Yes. I think he knows something about Rayquaza, too. I see, Oak said, his tone shifting. That explains why you're interested. Then, his voice jumped 3 octaves. Wait. What did you just say? Rayquaza? It took Cynthia a full 30 seconds to explain the situation to Professor Oak. Even for a man who had seen everything in the world of science, the news was staggering. Is such a thing truly possible? Oak's voice crackled with a mix of academic skepticism and raw excitement. Cynthia had commissioned him months ago to find any scrap of data on the Sky Dragon. Despite his vast network and expeditions into the deepest reaches of Hoenn, he had come up empty. No ancient scales, no genetic traces, nothing but whispers in crumbling texts. And now, Cynthia was telling him this legendary creature was the cover star of an indie video game. But the skepticism vanished the moment he looked at the Lilip screenshot again. The developer hadn't just guessed the anatomy, they had refined it. The structural markers on the tentacles and the calculated density of the rock-like plating surpassed Oak's own laboratory models. If this person can reconstruct a fossil with this much precision, Oak mused, his eyes bright with a fire he hadn't felt in years. Their understanding of ancient biology must be decades ahead of ours. What was the name of this game again? Oak asked. I believe I need to see this for myself. Professor? You want to play too? Cynthia was genuinely taken aback. Oak was nearly 70, video games and top-tier global researcher didn't usually occupy the same sentence. Ho ho! Don't let the white hair fool you, Cynthia. My body might be weathered, but my spirit is as restless as a primate's. Back in my day, I was a trainer who could have given you a run for your money. Cynthia smiled. She knew the legends. Before he was the world's premier professor, Samuel Oak had been a champion-caliber trainer. His love for Pokémon had simply pivoted from the battlefield to the laboratory. I'll send you the link, Professor. But be warned, this game is unforgiving. You'll need to take it seriously. It's just a game, my dear. How hard can it be? I've been known to dabble in a few titles in my spare time. Don't worry, if this old man clears it first, I'll pass the contact info straight to you. Thank you, Professor, Cynthia said. Though she felt a strange sense of déjà vu. Wasn't that exactly what I said before I started? After hanging up, Cynthia returned her focus to the screen. Watching Iono's stream had been educational. She now understood the wall of Rustboro. Roxanne's Lilip was a masterpiece of defensive stall, high special defense, leftovers for passive healing, synthesis for burst recovery, and confuse Ray to induce self-sabotage. In her world, Cynthia had faced trainers who specialized in defense counter tactics. She knew how to break a stall. But in a game's early stages, with a limited Pokédex, the difficulty of that Lilip was magnified tenfold. She watched as Iono's Joltik, dazed by confusion, bit its own face to faint. Cynthia couldn't help a small, elegant chuckle as she closed the tab. Seeing the usually boisterous electric-type specialist turn bright red with fury was a rare treat. But she had her own problems. To get to the gym, she first had to get past the black-haired boy waiting at the end of the route. Cynthia reactivated her camera and mic. "Sorry for the wait, everyone. Just a quick professional call." The chat flooded with welcome back, and who was it? Steven? Lance, but Cynthia's attention was caught by a new pop-up on the game client. Update notice, version 0.2, weather system, regional and time-based weather now impacts battle mechanics and world events. Enhanced personality AI, Pokémon and NPCs now possess distinct temperaments and emotional states. Particle FX optimization, enhanced visual flair for all moves. Map expansion, Dewford Town and the second gym are now live. 2 updates in 2 days? Cynthia blinked. This cliff worked with terrifying speed. She re-entered the game and walked her character out of the Pokémon Center. That's when she noticed it. Her Trico, usually a stoic sprite following behind her, was acting differently. It wasn't just following, it was trailing several paces back, its tiny pixelated arms crossed over its chest. It was chewing on its twig with an aggressive, rhythmic speed. It looked miserable. Cynthia pressed E to interact, attempting to pet its head. The Trico sprite suddenly hopped back, avoiding her hand entirely. "Chamo," it cried out, the text box radiating a sense of cold disdain. The chat went wild. Wait, the AI is actually mad at her for losing? This is too real. My Gibble used to do this when I messed up his snacks. Cynthia looked at the screen, a soft sigh escaping her. She didn't use a command. She spoke directly into the mic, her voice warm and sincere. "Trico, I am truly sorry for those last 2 battles. The failure wasn't yours, it was mine as a strategist. I promise you, I will find a way to let your strengths shine. I won't force you into an unfair fight again. I'll make sure that no matter how tough the opponent is, you'll always have a path to victory. Will you give me another chance to be your partner?" The Trico sprite stood still. It turned its head toward the player character, its little tail twitching tentatively. It moved 2 steps closer, looking up. "Chamo, cha. Trico has begrudgingly accepted your apology. However, it expects action, not just words. It also implies that if you send it out against another fire type, it's going on strike." The chat exploded with laughter and awe. This AI is miles ahead of Battle Path. It's not just code, it's a personality. I want a Tsundere Trico too. But Cynthia wasn't laughing. Her mind had drifted back years, to a younger version of herself standing in a field with a newly hatched, stubborn Gibble. She had made a similar promise the day after a humiliating loss, a promise to become a trainer worthy of her Pokémon's trust. She had kept that promise. And looking at this grumpy, pixelated Trico, Cynthia felt that old fire rekindling. It feels like I'm becoming a trainer all over again. Cynthia recalled her Trico to its Pokeball, her mind already several steps ahead. It was becoming clear that Cliff had a singular objective, to force players to build a disciplined, balanced team. In the real world, raising a single Pokémon to competitive levels required a fortune in resources and years of dedication. In Emerald, the cost was merely time. The game provided a sandbox for tactical perfection, but it came with a stingy price, only 15 capture slots for the entire journey. Every Pokeball was a lifetime contract. If I want to beat that Fire-type kid and eventually the Rock Gym, Cynthia mused, I need coverage. She mentally mapped the routes. Rock and water were the natural counters to fire, but the outskirts of Little Root and Oldale were home to common urban species, Pidgey, Rattata, and Poochyena. The distribution was hyper-realistic. You wouldn't find a Geodude on a flat grassy plain. Then, a memory of her first minutes in the game flickered. She steered her character back to the northern ponds near the town entrance. She began to pace through the tall grass, triggering the encounter RNG. She fled from a string of Poochyena and Spearow, patient and focused. On the seventh encounter, a small, blue-bodied Pokémon with a lillipad on its head waddled into view. Lotad. A dual water/grass type. In the early game, it was the perfect pivot. It resisted fire better than a pure grass type and offered the necessary typing to douse the rival's Torchic. After 2 careful pounds from Trico, Cynthia clicked the Pokeball. Shake. 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 Click. Welcome to the team, Cynthia whispered. She turned to her camera. Lotad is the optimal choice here. Its typing negates the traditional weaknesses to ice and fire that plague pure grass teams. It provides a defensive backbone we desperately need. But as she opened the status screen, her breath hitched. Ability, Swift Swim, effect, the Pokémon speed is doubled during rain. The chat was a flurry of confusion. Swift Swim? Never heard of it. Doubled speed? That's broken. The dev is just making stuff up now for flavor. Wait, Lotad's abilities are still under research in the real world, aren't they? Cynthia stared at that single line of text. As a champion, she was privy to the weather wars currently brewing in elite trainer circles. The discovery that moves like Rain Dance could boost water power was a recent breakthrough. But an ability that doubled speed in the rain? If this is real, Cynthia thought, her heart racing, it changes everything. In a high-level match, a 1% speed advantage was a win condition. A 100% boost was a revolution. If the Swift Swim ability existed in nature, every professional water specialist in the world would be hunting for Lotad by tomorrow morning. Cliff. Who are you? She wondered. A developer? Or a scientist who has seen things we haven't? She decided to test the theory later with Professor Oak. For now, the game offered her a unique opportunity, the chance to prototype a rain team years before the rest of the world caught on. She spent 20 minutes grinding Lotad to level 12. With Water Gun in its arsenal, she marched back to the black-haired boy. The Torchic, despite its level advantage in peck attacks, couldn't withstand the elemental disadvantage. Lotad washed the floor with it. Victory achieved. Cynthia released both her Pokémon for a moment of interaction. She petted Lotad's leaf. Good job, Lotad. Lotad it chirped, splashing happily. Trico was leaning against a nearby tree, a piece of foxtail grass in its mouth, looking utterly bored. Chamo. Cynthia reached out and petted its head too. The Trico's tail twitched violently, a clear sign of hidden satisfaction despite its cool facade. So Tsundere, the chat giggled. She really does love her Pokémon. Cynthia moved through the story beats, obtaining the Pokédex, meeting her father Norman in Petalburg, and helping the frail boy, Wally, catch his Ralts. She entered the Petalburg woods, her eyes scanning the pixels for the next piece of her puzzle. She checked her moves. Trico had Detect and Quick Guard, high-level defensive tools. Lotad had Mist and Growl. None of these would break Roxanne's Lileep. She needed a third member. Iono's livestream. Paralyze. Just one more time. Iono was vibrating. Her hands were clasped in a prayer position, shaking so hard they were a blur. On screen, a spark of electricity sizzled through Lileep's body. Lileep is paralyzed. It can't move. Yes. Iono screamed, nearly toppling her chair. Lileep was in the red. 2 more bug bites from Joltik would end the nightmare. The chat was a wall of hype, and finally. Last hit. Finish it. Iono's finger hovered over the button, her heart hammering. But then, the unexpected happened. Lilip didn't attack. It didn't flinch. It turned into a streak of red light and vanished into its ball. Leader Roxanne withdrew Lilip. Leader Roxanne sent out Arcan. Iono's face went blank. Her fingers stayed frozen above the keyboard. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice cracking. Who are you?" The prehistoric bird Pokémon, Arcan, screeched onto the field, its eyes sharp and ready to kill. It was fresh. It was fast. And Iono's Joltik was out of PP. Rustboro City, Hoenn Region, Real World. In front of the prestigious Rustboro gym, a girl in a neat black skirt and deep crimson tights sat on a stone bench. Her hair was pulled into her signature elegant buns. She cradled a Geodude in her lap, carefully wiping dust from its rocky surface with a soft cloth. Roxanne, the rock-type prodigy, let out a contented sigh. Ah! Days without challengers are the best. Peace and quiet. For some reason, the number of trainers seeking badges in Rustboro had dwindled lately. Perhaps the new league-certified gyms in the region were offering easier paths. Roxanne didn't mind, it was a testament to her strength, and frankly, she enjoyed a bit of slacking off. Working every day was for the obsessed. Ring. Ring. Her phone buzzed on her hip. A nameless number. She picked up, curious. Hello? This is Roxanne. Who am I speaking with? Hello? My name is Iono. A girl's voice crackled through the speaker. Roxanne blinked. The name was familiar, the Levincia influencer? Oh. Hello. How can I help you, Leader Iono? There was a long silence, followed by a faint, muffled sob. I just wanted to ask. About your Arcan and Lilip? Those two? My fossils? Roxanne asked, confused. Could you tell me? What are they afraid of? I can't beat them. I've tried 12 times. Please. Roxanne? What is she talking about? I haven't seen Iono in years, and I definitely haven't battled her today. Cynthia's livestream. While Iono was busy having a breakdown and calling the real Roxanne, Cynthia was locked in deep thought. She acknowledged Iono's paralysis luck strategy had its merits. If you throw enough dice, eventually you'll hit a jackpot. But Cynthia didn't want to gamble. She knew Cliff. A developer this meticulous wouldn't design a boss that required luck to bypass. He was testing the player's ability to build a cohesive team. Lilip was a check, a test of whether the player understood how to break a defensive pivot. In the high-level circuit, the gap between an Elite Four member and a champion isn't just power, Cynthia mused. It's composition. A team is only as strong as its weakest link. She looked at the map. Lilip was rock/grass. It was weak to bug, steel, ice, and fighting. Iono's Joltik was a bug type, but it was too frail. Its bug bite was a needle pricking a mountain. She needed a sledgehammer. Cynthia steered her character away from the gym. Instead of entering, she headed north toward Route 115. The chat was a riot. Wait, sis, Cynthia is running away? Tactical retreat. The champion knows when she's outmatched. I don't think I'm outmatched, Cynthia told the 300,000 viewers, a small, knowing smile on her lips. I think the developer left the answer to this puzzle somewhere nearby. A city known for its stoneworking and wouldn't just have common birds in its backyard. She hit the tall grass on the northern outskirts. After a few encounters with Tailo and Zigzagoon, a pink, bear-like Pokémon appeared. Stufful. Cynthia's eyes widened. An Alolan species? She knew Stufful. It looked like a stuffed toy, but its evolved form, Beware, was a physical monster. In the Alola region, they were famous for hugging their trainers so hard they broke ribs. They were pure physical powerhouses. Normal/fighting type, Cynthia analyzed. Exactly what I need. Unlike bug types, fighting Pokémon focused on raw, bone-shattering force. A spear to break Roxanne's shield. She sent out Trico to weaken it. She used Pound twice, dropping the Stufful into the red. Then, she threw a Pokeball. Escape. She threw another. Escape. The Stufful retaliated with a fierce tackle, dropping Trico's HP into the red. Cynthia reached for her last Pokeball, but before she could click, a prompt appeared. Trico seems to have lost its patience. Trico snatched the Pokeball from your hand. Trico threw the Pokeball. The ball sailed in a perfect arc, bopping the Stufful on the nose. Shake. 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 Click. Gotcha. Stufful was caught. Cynthia. Chat, ha 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 ha. Trico is like, you're embarrassing us, let me do it. The AI is roasting her. I can't breathe. Cynthia watched as Trico gave the screen a dismissive look before returning to its ball. Well. At least we caught it, she murmured, a bit embarrassed. She spent 15 minutes grinding the Stufful to the level 15 cap. Then, she checked its stats. Attack, 38, 38? Cynthia gasped. That's 10 points higher than Trico's special attack. At level 15, that's monstrous. More importantly, it had learned Force Palm. A fighting-type move with a 30% paralysis chance. It was the perfect counter, high damage to break the rock type, and a status effect to disrupt synthesis. But then, she looked at the ability. Ability, Fluffy, effect, halves damage from contact moves, but doubles damage from fire-type moves. Cynthia's breath caught. This was another swift swim moment. Stufful's abilities were still a subject of debate in Alolan research papers. Fluffy was a theoretical trait some claimed existed to explain their insane durability. Seeing it here, fully implemented with precise mechanics, sent a chill down her spine. Cliff. You aren't just a developer, she thought. You're a cataloger of the world's secrets. With the Fluffy Stufful in the lead, Cynthia turned back toward the gym. The City of Stone was waiting, and she finally had the hammer she needed to crack it open. The Fluffy ability had first been documented in the Galar region on a species known as Wooloo. The discovery was somewhat comical. A farmer noticed his flock was terrified of his lanterns, leading researchers to find that while their wool was an incredible physical insulator, it was lethally flammable. Cynthia hadn't expected Stufful to share this trait. She made a mental note to update Professor Oak later. In the context of Emerald's brutal mechanics, this was a godsend. Having all physical contact damage meant Stufful was an immovable object, as long as it stayed away from Ember. With her team prepped, Cynthia stepped back into the Rustboro gym. As she expected, Stufful's Force Palm made short work of the junior trainers. Finally, she stood before the leader. The earth, forged of stone, can weather any storm. I shall show you the unyielding grace of the rock type, Roxanne declared. The battle music surged. Roxanne led with Lileep. Cynthia led with Stufful. The chat was a wall of hype. Show her the power of the Sinnoh champion. Time for that fossil to go back to the museum. Cynthia's eyes sharpened. A heavy, invisible pressure seemed to radiate from her through the camera, a state of total focus she usually reserved for the master class circuit. She was no longer playing a game. She was commanding a battlefield. Stufful, Force Palm. But as the command executed, a red flash cut the animation short. Leader Roxanne withdrew Lileep. Leader Roxanne sent out Cranidos. Cynthia's breath caught. A tactical switch? Even in Battle Path, the AI rarely swapped to preserve a defensive core. Roxanne was playing like a human professional. Cranidos, a blue dinosaur with a reinforced dome head, screeched onto the field. Stufful's Force Palm connected, and the rock type's health bar plummeted to 0, then stopped. A tiny sliver of red remained. Cranidos hung on using its focus sash. What? The chat screamed. She cheated. It had 1 HP left. Cynthia stared at the screen. A focus sash. An item that allowed a Pokémon to survive any single lethal hit if it was at full health. Such an item didn't exist in the public market or any known simulator. Cliff was introducing entire layers of competitive theory through a simple indie game. She knew what was coming. Cranidos was fast, and it was about to hit back. Cranidos used Head Smash. A critical hit. The screen shook as if the monitor might crack. Stufful was flattened instantly. 1 hit. KO. Cynthia didn't say a word. She closed the game and restarted. She had learned the Iono reset well. The debt to the gym was a pittance compared to the tactical data she just gained. She initiated the rematch. Same lead, same switch. But this time, as Cranidos prepared its head smash, Cynthia made her move. Switch, Lotad. The little Lillipad Pokémon appeared just as the Cranidos lunged. Cranidos used Head Smash. A critical hit. Lotad's HP bar didn't just empty, it vanished. But as Lotad fainted, the blue dinosaur also crumpled. Cranidos took recoil damage. Cranidos fainted. I had to preserve Stufful, Cynthia explained calmly to her stunned viewers. Cranidos' head smash deals massive recoil. By sacrificing Lotad, I cleared the board of Roxanne's offensive threat while keeping my sledgehammer at full health. She felt a pang of guilt. I'll have to give Lotad extra treats after this. Being sent out just to take a hit like that. Roxanne sent Lily back out. Stufful returned. The battle of attrition began. Force Palm slammed into the fossil, dropping it to yellow. Lily tried to retaliate with Confuse Ray, but it missed. Cynthia didn't let up. Another Force Palm. Lily hit the red, then glowed with a brilliant light. Synthesis. Back to green. Leftovers ticked. Back to half health. It was a stalemate. Stufful's PP was ticking down. If she didn't get a lucky break soon, the stall would win. Stufful, one more time. The animation played. A burst of yellow static rippled across the Lilip. Lilip is paralyzed. Lilip tried to use synthesis, but its body seized up. It couldn't move. In the next turn, Stufful landed the finishing blow. Lilip fainted. The chat erupted. We did it. The wall is down. 2 down, 1 to go. Cynthia is unstoppable. Cynthia, however, remained frozen. Her instinct told her the worst was yet to come. Roxanne's sprite reappeared, smiling with a chilling confidence. Your will is as strong as stone, I'll grant you that. But I will not fall here. My pride, my final rock, go, Arcan. A prehistoric bird, a riot of red, blue, and yellow feathers, screeched onto the field. It looked wild, ancient, and terrifyingly fast. Arcan? Cynthia muttered. Another fossil. She commanded Force Palm, hoping for one last push. But before Stufful could even twitch, the bird became a tricolor blur. Arcan used Wing Attack. It's super effective. Stufful didn't stand a chance. The fluffy ability reduced contact damage, but Wing Attack was an aerial strike that bypassed the bear's bulk. Stufful went down in a single, clean sweep. One bird. One hit. The champion's second Pokémon was gone. A brilliant tricolor flash streaked across the arena. Amidst a storm of loose feathers, Stufful's HP plummeted to 0. The pink bear collapsed and was instantly recalled to its Pokeball. The interface flickered. Both Roxanne and Cynthia were down to their final active slot. The battle had reached its climax, and the situation looked dire. Stufful, the intended ace and heavy hitter, had been deleted before it could even throw a punch. Even with its fluffy defenses, the Archon's raw physical power, a staggering base attack of 112, had bypassed everything. Now, Cynthia was left with only Trico, a Pokémon naturally weak to Archon's flying-type wing attack. Cynthia's heart sank. She's good, she admitted silently. Roxanne wasn't just a rock specialist, she was a strategist who understood coverage. Arcan was the perfect anti-grass and anti-fighting pivot. Cynthia hovered her finger over the run command. She had promised Trico she wouldn't force it into losing battles. Sending it out now felt like a betrayal of that vow. But then, something happened that shattered the fourth wall of the simulation. The Pokeball icon on her screen began to vibrate violently, pulsing with a red and white light. Your Pokémon, Trico, wants to fight. Will you honor its resolve? Cynthia froze. The icon continued to shake, a digital manifestation of pure, unyielding spirit. She narrowed her eyes. If my partner refuses to back down, how can I? Retreat was never the mark of a champion. Even if she fell, she would fall fighting. All right, Trico. Let's show them what we're made of. She slammed the confirm button. A white flash deposited Trico onto the field. Full power, Trico. Don't hold anything back. Chamo. Cynthia went for broke, Mega Drain. It was her only hope for a high-damage grass move, even if it was risky. But Arcan was faster. It launched into the air, wings glowing with lethal energy as it dove for the kill. Arcan used wing attack. It's super effective. A critical hit. The chat was a funeral procession of comments. It's over. That's a 4x damage modifier on a crit. R.I.P. Trico. You were a real one. Trico's HP bar bottomed out, sliding towards zero at terminal velocity. There was no way a frail grass type survives a stab, super effective, critical hit wing attack from a prehistoric predator. But in that split second, Cynthia leaned toward her monitor. Driven by an instinct she couldn't explain, she pressed E and shouted into the mic, "Hang on, Terry CKO. I believe in you." The screen stuttered. A pulse of rainbow light rippled across the pixels as a surge of majestic music drowned out the battle theme. Trico toughed it out so you wouldn't feel sad. The bond between trainer and Pokémon has manifested a miracle. The HP bar stopped. 1 HP. Trico stood its ground, its eyes burning with a focused, emerald fire. Chamo. Trico's overgrow activated. Trico used Mega Drain. A critical hit. Under 1/3 HP, overgrow doubled the power of grass moves. Combined with a critical hit and the type advantage against Arcan's rock typing, the move became a tectonic force. A storm of emerald energy swallowed the Arcan whole, draining its life force in a single, explosive burst. Arcan fainted. Leader Roxanne has no more Pokémon. The stone badge icon flashed on screen, signaling Cynthia's victory. But the spectacle wasn't over. A brilliant, prismatic glow enveloped Trico. Its silhouette stretched, its limbs lengthening, a long, elegant leaf sprouting from its head. Congratulations! Your Trico evolved into Grovyle. Roxanne's sprite reappeared, bowing slightly. A magnificent battle. Your bond is harder than any stone. I am truly impressed. Take this, the stone badge. And TM76, Rock Tomb. Use it well. The stream was silent for 3 heartbeats before the dam broke. 666,666. She actually did it. Did the game just reward her for screaming at the mic? Is this real life? Arcan, I don't know, man, they started talking about friendship and then I was dead. Cynthia sat back, breathless. She looked at the silver badge on her screen and the cool, sharpened form of Grovyle. She reached out and used the interaction command to pat its back. You were amazing, Grovyle. Thank you. Grovyle looked away, its arms crossed, but its tail was wagging like a metronome. The power of a bond. Cynthia smiled. Cliff hadn't just made a game. He had coded the soul of a trainer's journey. Viridian City. Cliff's apartment. Cliff stretched, his joints popping like fireworks. The efficiency module was a godsend. In just a few hours, he had finished the maps for Duford Town and the Granite Cave. He tucked a small surprise into the cave, something for the players to find alongside the champion, Stephen Stone. He was currently mapping out Slateport City, the next major hub. Time for the childhood trauma, Cliff grinned. He was designing the rival encounter on the bridge above Route 110. Every player who chose Mudkip thinking they were invincible was about to meet a Grovyle that would redefine their understanding of pain. He checked his sales dashboard. Units sold, 9,102, over 9,000? Cliff's jaw hit the floor. In 2 days? At $288 a pop, even after the league's hefty tax and platform fees, he was looking at over 2 million Poke dollars. He looked at his raggedy curtains and the stained carpet. Time to move. Lidwick and I are getting an upgrade. Then, he checked the system's emotional log. Ding! Emotional feedback received from special characters Cynthia, 80 points, Sync/Admiration, Iono, 100 points, Rage/Obsession, Professor Oak, 50 points, Shock/Curiosity, Cliff blinked. Professor Oak? The old man is actually playing? He chuckled, picturing the world's greatest researcher hunched over a pixel game. Well. He might be old, but I guess his gaming thumb is still solid. It made sense, honestly. Samuel Oak was a champion in his prime. It was perfectly logical for a retired legend to pick up a controller and relive his glory days. But one thing bothered Cliff, the points. Between Iono, Cynthia, and Oak, he had only harvested 230 emotional points today. Cynthia's first stream alone had netted nearly that much. A golden notification flickered to explain the deficit. Ding. Host, please note, emotional resonance from the same individual decreases over time. Minimum yield can drop to 25% of the original value. Cliff's brow twitched. So I can't just keep milking the same 3 whales. To unlock the mid-tier modules, which cost upwards of 2,000 points each, he needed a massive influx of new players. He needed a marketing blitz. But a solo dev in a rented room didn't exactly have a PR department. I need a way to reach the unreached, Cliff mused. But how? He wasn't the only one asking that question. Jubilife City, Sinnoh. Dream Factory HQ. On the top floor of a gleaming glass spire, a man in a sharp brown suit burst into the executive office, nearly tripping over his own loafers. He was clutching a tablet, his breathing ragged. Boss. We have a situation. Behind a massive mahogany desk sat a middle-aged man with a center-parted hairstyle and eyes that had seen 1,000 corporate wars. This was Vance, the CEO of Dream Factory, the undisputed king of the global gaming market. Vance didn't look up from his papers. I've told you before, knock. Now, what minor disaster has ruined your composure? Boss, 3 days ago, a game called Pokémon Emerald was added to the new Indie Fest. In 72 hours, it's climbed from the bottom of the rankings to the top 20. Its trajectory is vertical. Emerald? Vance took the tablet. It was a recording of Cynthia's first stream. He watched for several minutes, his expression shifting from boredom to cold calculation. He wasn't a developer, but he knew quality when he saw it. The environmental detail, the lighting, the sheer density of the world. It was terrifyingly sophisticated for a pixel game. Who made this? He asked, his voice low. The records say it's a solo dev named Cliff, but that's impossible. My guess? It's a shell company. Maybe Piplupsoft or Charmander Studios trying to sneak into the market under a fake name. Vance set the tablet down and lit a cigar. He exhaled a thick cloud of smoke. No one is a threat to Dream Factory. It doesn't matter who they are, what matters is that we stop this momentum. Tell the development department. Emergency meeting at 8 p.m. No absences. If they're on vacation, they join via holocall. The assistant blinked. Boss. Are we going to? Vance offered a predatory smile. We're going to do what we always do. We adapt it. Pixel games are cheap to produce. With our manpower, we can replicate the logic in days. Take their battle system, change the sprites, tweak the region, and add some Dream Factory polish. We'll lower the difficulty, drop the price to $49, and release it as our own standard edition. They were stupid to make it so hard and so expensive. We'll suffocate them with accessibility. The assistant grinned, giving a thumbs up. Brilliant as always, boss. I'll notify the team. As the door closed, Vance turned to the floor-to-ceiling window, looking down at Jubilife City with a scowl. Emerald? I won't allow a single pebble to trip up this empire. Viridian City. Cliff's apartment. Cliff was blissfully unaware of the corporate hit being put out on him. He was currently watching his shiny Litwick inhale a tin of premium ghost-type food. I swear, whoever invented the concept of Pokémon was a genius, Cliff whispered, a motherly smile on his face. You're way too cute. He reached out to pat the little candle. Eat slow, buddy. I bought enough for a month. Mob, Litwick sighed happily, its navy flame flickering with contentment. By the way, Cliff asked, a thought striking him. How did you end up in my room? You aren't exactly a Kanto native. The Litwick stopped eating, its emerald eyes clouding with a distant, painful memory. Shamo. Cha. Thanks to the translator module, the story unfolded in Cliff's mind. Litwick hadn't come from the outskirts of the city. It had been living in a special space, a place where the sky was wrong, the air was cold, and everything was hungry. A special space? Cliff frowned. Like ultra space? Or the distortion world? Litwick nodded frantically. Mob. M.O. Scary things there. Dark. So dark and hungry. I hated it. Cliff stroked its head. It's okay now. You're with me. I'll make sure you reach the peak of the Litwick life, alright? Litwick didn't quite understand peak, but it understood food. It nudged Cliff's hand with a soft bleat. With his partner settled, Cliff turned back to his point balance. 620 points. At this rate, it would take weeks to afford a mid-tier module. Most of his points came from the big three, and the common players were only providing a trickle of data. He needed a way to manually trigger emotional spikes in a large crowd. Ding! System, detection of hosts greed for emotional points. Mission system unlocked. Side quest, the side gig activity, difficulty, C goal, register as a streamer on any platform. Reach a peak viewership of 1000. Reward, 1x random basic module, 200 emotional points. Hint, if the benefactor is tired of playing his own games, this old monk knows a few dirty tricks in the code. Cliff stared at the screen. A slow, wicked grin spread across his face. He didn't need to play Emerald. He was a master producer. He knew exactly what made people scream, cry, and throw their phones across the room. If he went live, he wouldn't just be a streamer. He'd be a nightmare. In the corner, the eating Litwick suddenly froze. It looked at its master, whose laughter was currently echoing through the thin walls of the apartment. Sigma, degree, that laugh. The Litwick thought. Am I back in the scary place? Cliff had no idea that his wicked laughter had just sent a chill down the spine of a certain little partner in the room. Litwick huddled in the corner, its small flame flickering nervously as it watched its master work. Since he intended to rely on streaming for emotional revenue, Cliff naturally headed for the platform with the largest reach. He opened his browser, navigated to the Siteuk TV landing page, and began the process of registering a creator account. However, when he reached the identity verification stage, he hit a wall. No matter how clearly he typed his personal data, the text transformed into a string of incomprehensible gibberish the moment he hit enter. A glitch? Is the site broken? Just as frustration began to set in, a system prompt shimmered into view. Ding. Warning, beginner protection active. As a transmigrator, your identity data has been strictly encrypted. No third party can investigate or retrieve your personal information. Remaining protection time, 4 days, 3 hours, 23 minutes. Note, renewal costs 10 emotional points per week. Cost scales with successive renewals. Cliff's eyes widened, followed by a look of profound relief. So that's why my registration on the game portal was a mess of code. I thought the league's web developers were just incompetent. This was a godsend. It meant that even as his games took the world by storm, he would remain a ghost. He didn't have to worry about corporate spies from Vance's Dream Factory or, worse, the literal criminal syndicates of this world. If a boss from Team Rocket or Team Galactic decided he knew too much, they wouldn't even be able to find his street address. Only 10 points for a week of peace? Cliff smirked, rubbing his chin. Sold. With his digital mask firmly in place, he opened his personal broadcast room. He didn't go live immediately. Instead, he clicked an icon on his desktop, Battle Path. His plan was simple: know thy enemy. Before he could build a superior battle simulator, he had to understand why Dream Factory's masterpiece was currently dominating the market. A cheerful, upbeat melody played as the Dream Factory logo filled the screen. A soft, synthesized female voice greeted him. Welcome to the world of Battle Path. Please enter your player name. Cliff didn't hesitate. He tapped out 4 characters, talented individual. He spent several minutes breezing through the tutorial to grasp the core mechanics. Battle Path was, technically, a turn-based game, but it aimed for realism. Players used a microphone to give voice commands to their Pokémon. The game would then take several seconds to calculate the interaction before showing the 2 Pokémon clashing. While there was a noticeable delay and it wasn't true real-time combat, the system allowed for nuances like dodge to the left, or aim your flamethrower at the sky. By the standards of this world, it was cutting-edge technology, the absolute pinnacle of the industry. No wonder Dream Factory held the crown. But to a former pro producer like Cliff, it was clunky, bloated, and archaic. When he exited the tutorial to the main menu, the screen was immediately assaulted by a massive, neon-colored pop-up. Congratulations! You've unlocked the limited-time first recharge deal. Recharge $6 now to get the exclusive Psyduck hat and 1x random purple tier Pokémon unlock card. Cliff blinked and closed the box. Only 4. 3 more to take its place. Cumulative recharge event active. Reach $648 to receive the special red Pokémon box. Summer blowout. Get Prism Gems at a 20% discount. New season Battle Pass live. Unlock the deluxe edition for $388 and skip the first 20 levels. Cliff's lip curled in a dry twitch. Now this feels familiar. Some things never change across universes. It was the classic free-to-play trap. Battle Path was less a game and more a shopfront with a combat minigame attached. He navigated to the Pokémon roster and felt a headache coming on. Every Pokémon had to be unlocked. They were categorized into 5 tiers: white, blue, green, purple, and red. The more iconic or powerful the species, the higher the tier. Pseudo-legendaries like Garchomp and Dragonite were red tier, requiring 1,000 Prism Gems, the premium currency, to unlock. Converted to cash, that was roughly $500 for a single Pokémon. To build a competitive team of 6, a player might spend thousands. To fill a diverse roster for different strategies? Tens of thousands. It was a staggering financial barrier, even for professional trainers. The only saving grace was that paying didn't increase the Pokémon's raw stats. If Dream Factory had crossed the pay-to-win line into stat boosting, Cliff suspected the internet would have burned their headquarters down by now. Cliff observed the interface for a while and realized that while the game was designed to bleed money, it was technically possible to unlock the heavy hitters for free. Dream Factory ran cyclical events that threw scraps to the free-to-play peasants. If you ground your life away for months, you might eventually scrape together enough gems for a single red-tier Pokémon. But there was a catch: the unlocks were randomized. You could spend half a year grinding only to unlock a red-tier Pokémon you absolutely hated. If you want a coherent team, kid, just open your wallet, Cliff muttered, mimicking a corporate shill. He looked at his beginner's reward, a specific purple-tier unlock card. While he had enough cash to whale out and buy every legendary in the game, he had no intention of doing so. One of the core charms of Pokémon was that there were no useless species, only unimaginative trainers. Even the most overlooked Pokémon had a niche that could anchor a strategy and produce terrifying results. He scrolled through the purple tier list. He saw Scyther, Magmar, solid, but popular and predictable. Then, a familiar shape stopped his scrolling. Two yellow eyes set in sharp protrusions, surrounded by blue, crystalline petals that pulsed with a strange light. Your Pokémon, Glimmera. Cliff blinked. They put Glimmera in the second-tier purple bracket? He couldn't wrap his head around it. In the high-level competitive circuits of his old world, Glimmera was a top 30 staple, the signature hazard setter of the Paldine champion, Gita. Its ability to seed the field with toxic spikes just by being touched was a nightmare for any opponent. The developers here, they really don't understand what they've built, Cliff realized. To them, Glimmera was just a weird rock type. To him, it was a tactical nuclear device. He used his reward card to unlock Glimmera instantly. But as he went to customize its build, he hit another wall. The item list was a wasteland. Critical competitive tools like the Focus Sash or the Power Herb, the latter being essential for Glimmera, were nowhere to be found. No wonder it's ranked so low, Cliff whispered. A Glimmera without a Power Herb is a completely different beast. In the real competitive meta, a Glimmera carrying a Power Herb could use Meteor Beam to skip the charging turn, nuking an opponent instantly while gaining a +1 special attack boost. With a base special attack of 130, a boosted Glimmera became a mobile heavy artillery platform. But the ignorance of this world's developers was Cliff's greatest asset. They didn't even have Glimmera's hidden ability, Corrosion, as an option. The less they knew, the harder his eventual games would hit the market. I don't need the Power Herb anyway, Cliff grinned. I'm not using Glimmera as a cannon. I have something much nastier in mind. He quickly set Glimmera's EVs and moves. Then, he turned to the trash tiers. White, green, and blue tier Pokémon were free to use. And most players ignored them because of their low base stats. Cliff searched for two specific faces: Deden, the small, round electric mouse, and Ambipom, the purple monkey with twin, hand-like tails. These two weak Pokémon were going to be the heart of his psychological warfare. He rounded out his 6-man roster with Pidgeot, Quagsire, and Dugtrio. With his team of misfits locked in, he opened the PvP interface. Battle Path divided play into 1v1 singles and 2v2 doubles. The ranks climbed from Poke Ball to Great Ball, Ultra Ball, and the prestigious Master Ball and Top Ball tiers. Most average players stagnated in Great Ball. Ultra Ball was for the talented. Master and Top tiers were reserved for gym leaders, the Elite Four, and champions. Cliff took a deep breath, hovered over the 2v2 doubles matchmaking button, and clicked his livestream start button simultaneously. His stream title was a declaration of war: Pro Challenge, $0 account TO Master Ball rank. 100% win rate. Lose one game equals $100,000 giveaway. Alright, world, Cliff whispered, a dark glint in his eyes. Let me show you why you should fear the weak ones. The title of the stream was a calculated hook. To harvest emotional data, Cliff needed eyes on the screen, and nothing drew a crowd like arrogance backed by a massive payout. If he lost, he'd be out $100,000. But to Cliff, that wasn't a risk, it was a marketing expense he'd never have to pay. Losing was not an option. He didn't just understand the game, he understood the flaws in its very soul. As he edited his team and queued for doubles, the matchmaker worked its magic. Doubles offered more tactical depth than singles, synergies, field control, and target switching, making it the preferred tier for anyone who actually understood battle theory. His first few opponents were tragic. One kid, whose ID was, "Bug types are the best," led with a Beedrill and a Dustox. His entire team consisted of early route bugs. "I appreciate the dedication, kid," Cliff thought, looking at his own Pidgeot, which was EV trained for maximum speed and attack and equipped with a choice band. "But you really should have considered type coverage." The Pidgeot didn't just win, it deleted the bugs from the server. Cliff breezed through his first 10 matches, his rank points surging to 1,950, just one win away from the Great Ball tier. As his win streak hit 10, the viewer count climbed to nearly 80. The skepticism in the chat was palpable. Zero-cost Master Ball? Keep dreaming. If you hit Ultra Ball, I'll gift you a rocket right now. He's just fishing in the kiddie pool. Wait until the algorithm pairs him with a real player. Cliff didn't waste time typing. He simply opened the platform's official giveaway tool and locked in the $100,000 prize. The moment the verified giveaway icon appeared, the atmosphere shifted from mockery to predatory anticipation. "Alright, the prize is locked by the platform," Cliff said, his voice calm and professional. 100% win rate, or I pay up. Welcome to the show. The matchmaking timer ticked past 10 seconds. Then, a match was found. The opponent's avatar was a silhouette with a red cape, and the ID screamed in a dynamic, flashing red font, "World's Strongest Dragon." The chat exploded. "Oh damn! A red name. It's a whale. Every red tier Pokémon unlocked. RIP the $100,000. You just matched with a god tier spender." Cliff leaned back. A red name meant the player had spent hundreds of thousands of Poke dollars to unlock the rarest dragons in the game. He didn't care. He was about to show this whale that a talented individual could harpoon anything. Goldenrod City, Johto. In the study of a private villa, a man with vibrant red hair and a black and red cape sat before a high-end PC. He radiated the aura of a natural leader. This was Lance, former champion of Kanto and Johto, and current member of the Elite Four. Lance was in a good mood. Red had recommended this game as a way to pass the time between league meetings, and it was surprisingly fun. He enjoyed the freedom to use Pokémon he hadn't raised in the real world. The low-tier matches had been a bore, and he was eager to climb the ranks to see if he'd run into old acquaintances like Cynthia. The match notification popped up. He looked at his opponent's avatar, a pitch-black silhouette, and read the name aloud. Talented individual? Lance's lips curled into a faint, competitive smirk. Let's see if your talent matches your confidence. To be honest, the name had caught him off guard. He knew of the battle-type red and the breeder-type green, so he couldn't help but wonder, who exactly was this quality-type individual? While Lance sat in a daze, the battle began. In high-level play triggered by win streaks, the rules mirrored top-tier competitive play. Neither side could see the opponent's team composition beforehand. After a brief selection phase, both sides deployed their leads. Lance's side featured Kamo and Garchomp, while his opponent sent out Glimmera and Pidgeot. As the Pokémon hit the field, the comments in Cliff's livestream began to fly. Classic Whale player, leads with 2 top-tier pseudo-legendaries right out of the gate. Compare that to the streamer, 1 blue tier, 1 purple tier. How is he supposed to even play? On paper, Cliff's team was completely outclassed, yet he didn't show a hint of panic. Through his first 10 battles, he had mastered the game's command system and gave his orders through the mic with crisp precision. Pidgeot, use Tailwind. Glimmera, charge Meteor Beam. At his command, the Glimmera on the field immediately furled its petals. And a blinding radiance began to coalesce around its core. In this game, when a trainer issues a charge command, the indicator is displayed immediately. This simulated the visible buildup of power in reality, giving the opponent a chance to react. After all, moves that require a charging turn are usually devastatingly powerful. Lance stared at the screen, lost in thought. He was familiar with Glimera. If he wasn't mistaken, the opponent was charging Meteor Beam. It was a potent move. While the ground-type Garchomp could resist it, his Kameo would struggle to tank the hit. Furthermore, a successful Meteor Beam would boost Glimera's special attack, making it an absolute nightmare to remove. The best solution was to focus fire while it was charging. He didn't need to knock it out instantly, but he had to disrupt that charge. Garchomp, rush in with Stomping Tantrum. Kameo, use Clanging Scales to interrupt. Lance's commands were locked in. After the system processed the logic, all 4 Pokémon blurred into motion. Pidgeot spread its wings and let out a sharp cry. As it flapped, a violent gale began to circle the field, creating a massive current of air that surged toward Lance's dragons. This was Tailwind. Once active, it doubled the speed of the user's team. In a 2v2 doubles match, this was an incredibly advantageous support move, and using it at the start was standard procedure. However, after seeing the Pidgeot's action, Lance immediately formed an opinion of the talented individual. Just a lucky rookie, he thought. He probably rode a win streak through some easy matches but doesn't actually understand the flow of battle. Normally, for a move like Meteor Beam, you would either have another Pokémon by time for the charge or look for an opening mid-battle. Charging Glimera on the opening turn without having Pidgeot provide cover or disruption was simply naive. In doubles, mutual protection and synergy are everything. Fighting solo only leads to defeat. By this time, Tailwind was active, but Garchomp had already lunged toward the charging Glimera. Kameo let out a thunderous roar, and a visible shockwave of sonic energy slammed into the rock-like Pokémon first. Although rock types resist normal and sound-based moves, Glimera's health dropped by nearly a quarter, and more importantly, the sonic vibration shattered its focus, interrupting the light gathering. Next came Garchomp. Raising its claws, it slammed down with a massive stomp. Glimera's HP bar plummeted instantly to 0. Although Stomping Tantrum isn't the most powerful move, it carried a stab, same type attack bonus, from Garchomp and dealt 4x super effective damage to the rock/poison type Glimera. In a single turn, Cliff had suffered a direct casualty. The livestream chat was in an uproar. Now that's a whale for you, pure power and effort. What effort? This is just the streamer being terrible. Charging in front of those two without help? That's just a free kill. Seriously, even I wouldn't play this poorly. One charges, one uses Tailwind. I have no idea what he's thinking. After the first turn, no one believed Cliff could win. Glimera was his only high-rarity unit, and it had vanished without doing a single thing. What weapons did he have left? What they didn't see was Cliff sitting in front of his monitor, watching the purple mist silently billow out from the fainted Glimera. It quickly coated Lance's side of the field. A faint, razor-sharp smile touched Cliff's lips. The strongest attacker is ready. Tailwind is set. The time is near. Lance, meanwhile, noticed the change on the battlefield. His side of the arena was now shrouded in a layer of purple light. Kameo and Garchomp shuddered slightly as the word poison appeared over their heads. He wasn't surprised. Glimera's ability was toxic debris. If hit by a physical move, it scatters poison across the opponent's field. Any Pokémon currently out, or switched in later, would be poisoned and lose health every turn. But Lance wasn't worried. The ability had only triggered once. This level of poison would take less than 1/10 of their health each turn. With his numerical advantage, he just needed to press the offensive and end this quickly. As Lance plotted his next move, Cliff, as the player who lost a Pokémon, earned the right to switch. He recalled his Pidgeot along with the fainted Glimera. A white light flashed, and the two Pokémon that appeared before Lance made him freeze in genuine confusion. Ha! Lance blinked. No. You two are. Lance's bewilderment was justified. The two Pokémon standing across from his majestic dragons were, frankly, absurd for high-level play. An Ambipom and a Deden. He couldn't help but feel a sense of irony. In the world of Battle Path, Ambipom was a mere blue tier unit, and Deden was bottom of the barrel white tier. In a game where stats and rarity usually dictated the winner, using these two in a ranked match seemed like a joke. He really is just a lucky rookie, Lance thought. Meanwhile, Cliff's livestream was a riot of laughter. OMG, Ambipom I get, but Deden? Is the streamer confused? Does he think this is the baby cup? Kid, go evolve that thing before you come back. LMAO. Streamer, just forfeit now and save us the wait for the giveaway. To the viewers, Deden was a mascot, a cute mouse people kept as pets. No champion had ever trained one for serious combat. It was too weak, too timid, and had zero evolutionary potential. They never expected it to be a key player. Cliff ignored the noise and issued his command, Deden, Ambipom, fling. On the other side, Lance gave his orders with a sigh. Garchomp, use Earthquake. Kamo, jump and use Clanging Scales. It was a classic combo. Earthquake would devastate the field, while Kamo's jump would keep it safe from the friendly fire. Lance felt a pang of disappointment. Defeating a newbie like this wasn't even fun. He just wanted to get to the Master Ball tier. Then, the turn processed. Before the dragons could move, two objects soared through the air and slammed into their heads with a sharp thwack. Their health bars ticked down by a tiny, almost insulting amount. Lance squinted at the screen. One object looked like a tarnished gold crown, the other, a sharp, serrated tooth. A King's Rock and a Razor Fong? He realized those were the items the Pokémon had been holding. But as he looked up, his heart skipped a beat. Both Garchomp and Kamo were frozen in place. Two prompts appeared, Garchomp flinched. Kamo flinched. What? Lance's mind raced. Fling allowed a Pokémon to throw its held item for an attack. Depending on the item, the effect changed. Throwing a King's Rock or a Razor Fong resulted in a 100% flinch rate if it hit. It was a clever trick, but no pro used it because it was a one-and-done move. Once you throw your item, it's gone. You can't exactly walk over and pick it up mid-battle while your opponent is trying to blast you. It wasted a precious item slot for a single turn of disruption. Lance wasn't worried yet. It was a one-turn delay. He just used the same moves next turn. But then, the items lying on the ground suddenly shimmered and flew back into the paws of the mouse and the monkey. Deden's pickup activated. Ambipom's pickup activated. Lance? No. They actually picked them up? His expression shifted from confusion to dawning horror. Because Cliff's Pidgeot had set up Tailwind earlier, the mouse and monkey were faster. Next turn, fling. The crown hit Garchomp in the face. The tooth pierced Kamo's scales. Flinch. The cycle repeated. Turn after turn, the legendary dragons stood there, paralyzed by a rain of trash. They couldn't move. They couldn't roar. They could only stand there and take it while the poison from Cliff's Glimmera slowly ate away at their health. By turn 9, the world's strongest dragons collapsed. They had been defeated by a mouse and a monkey throwing garbage at them. Lance's Hydreigon and Goodra were sent out next, only to be met with the same relentless rain of items. Lance sat at his computer, his face twitching. He finally understood why his opponent chose that name. Talented individual? This guy has absolutely zero sportsmanship. Lance hissed. Can someone, anyone, please stop him? Back on the livestream, Cliff stretched his arms and leaned into the mic to address his viewers. Alright, the strategy was executed perfectly. Let's break it down. The core logic is simple, deception. First, I used the threat of Glimmera's Meteor Beam to bait the opponent. In a high-stakes match, no one wants to let a special attacker get a free boost, so they focus fire Glimmera immediately. This guarantees the activation of toxic debris, poisoning their entire team for the rest of the match. While they're busy winning that first trade, Pidgeot is free to set up Tailwind. Once the speed advantage is secured, I bring in the pickup duo. They recycle the flinch-inducing items in an infinite loop. Why Deden and Ambipom? Because they have the highest base speed among Pokémon that can learn Fling. Cliff chuckled. Or, you can just assume I used Deden because it's cute and I wanted to see it play. Being beamed in the head with a golden crown by a round mouse shouldn't be too upsetting, right? On screen, Lance's Hydreigon and Gudra were already below half health, unable to flinch their way out of the trap. Frustrated and humiliated, the Dragon Master forfeited. The victory screen flashed, followed by a rank-up animation to the Great Ball tier. Cliff rubbed his nose, sounding almost disappointed. Ah, he ran away? I wasn't even done throwing stuff. The chat was a nuclear explosion of comments. What the hell? Pickup can be used like that? Is this streamer a poet or a war criminal? That strategy is illegal. Low damage, but maximum emotional damage. I'm literally laughing because I don't know how to process this. Someone pinch me. I'm at 26th Street, Goldenrod City. Cliff ignored the hype and updated his stream title, 11 win streak. Hit Great Ball tier. Suddenly, a cascade of notifications appeared, ding. Congratulations, host. Your performance has earned 20 emotional points from the general audience. Cliff glanced at it, unimpressed. The viewer count was still low, so the passive gain was small. But then, a golden prompt appeared. Ding. Congratulations. Your actions caused Lance to experience extreme shock, helplessness, and depression. Converted to 370 emotional points. Cliff blinked. Lance? As in? The Dragon Master Lance? He looked at the opponent's ID, World's Strongest Dragon. No wonder he was so loaded. No wonder he chose that name. He realized that in his very first attempt at this strategy, he had systematically dismantled a former Kanto champion. I wasn't teasing him, Cliff rationalized. I was providing an educational demonstration of advanced tactical synergy in a high-pressure environment. Yeah. That sounds better. His viewer count was now skyrocketing, passing 700. He only needed 300 more to finish the system mission. He hit the battle button again. Next victim, please. Goldenrod City. Lance was slumped in his ergonomic gaming chair, staring blankly at the defeat screen. He, a champion, had just been 6-0 foot D in the bottom tiers of a mobile game. He'd been baited. The Glimmera was a Trojan horse. He'd played right into the talented individual's hands, focusing on a decoy while the real trap was set. A strategist this brilliant. An execution this cold. Lance frowned. Who is this guy? Why haven't I heard of him? He was convinced this was another regional champion playing incognito. He took a screenshot of the battle log and Cliff's ID and sent it to a private group chat titled, The League, Champions and Elite Four. World's Strongest Dragon, does anyone recognize this ID? Their tactics are unique. I'd like to have a chat with them. The chat, usually dormant, pinged instantly. Agatha, oh? Isn't that the game? You lost with that whale roster in the beginner ranks? How embarrassing, boy. World's Strongest Dragon, old woman, shut it. You'd lose too. Agatha, see? He's getting emotional again. Stephen Stone, interesting. Lorelei, my. What did I miss? It's getting lively in here. This was clearly no ordinary chat group. It was a private gathering of Elite Four members and champions from every region. One could say the strongest trainers in the world were all here. Because people of their stature had mountains of responsibilities, the group was usually quiet. However, the moment something interesting happened, the lurkers surfaced immediately. Just like now. As more people began to chime in, asking Lance, World's Strongest Dragon, for specifics, he simply downloaded the replay of his recent battle and forwarded it to the group. World's Strongest Dragon, I ran into someone using a very interesting tactic, have a look. The group went silent again as everyone focused on the video. A few minutes later, the reactions started pouring in. I love mining, Steven Stone using 2 Pokémon with Fling to achieve an infinite flinch loop? While nearly impossible to pull off in reality, the concept is fascinating. Malicious slander, Agatha, the thought of you, Lance, being pelted with trash for an entire match. I can't help but lose my composure. One Pair Blossom, ha 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 ha. As top-tier trainers, they immediately grasped the tactical logic behind the battle. They had to admit that even though it was just a game, there were subtle depths to it. World's Strongest Dragon, alright, laugh it off. Now, can anyone help me find info on this talented individual? I really want to meet him. One Pair Blossom, you better meet him and not hunt him down for an IRL fight. Lorelei, maybe try the high-score players in the group? They might know him. Darkness Descends, our highest scorers should be Red and Cynthia, but Red is training and unreachable. Why not ask Cynthia? Pure White, at Strawberry Ice Cream. One Pair Blossom, at Strawberry Ice Cream. 2 minutes passed without a response. Suddenly, a user with a Charizard avatar spoke up. Don't call me fire-haired, Flint, don't bother tagging her. She's off the grid. I thought she was on a mission, but I checked the game logs. She's addicted to a game and has been online non-stop. Don't call me fire-haired, the game is called Pokémon Emerald? I don't get the appeal, but she hasn't played Battle Path in days. One Pair Blossom, thanks for the info, Firehair. Don't call me fire-haired. I'm on a Dragonite Airlines flight to your location right now. I'll be there in minutes, you better not run. World's Strongest Dragon, count me in. Lance logged off. He had hoped to use the Champions Network to unmask this talented individual, but now he'd have to wait for Cynthia or Red. He pondered what Flint said. Cynthia wasn't usually one for video games, she only played Battle Path to sharpen her tactical knowledge. What kind of magic does this emerald have to make her ignore messages? Lance grew curious. He was on vacation anyway, why not try it? What was the name again? Pokémon Emerald? He opened the search bar. 1 hour later, Cliff streamed the opponent forfeited, giving Cliff his 15th consecutive win. His rank hit Great Ball. However, he was slightly disappointed, his recent opponents weren't world-class legends like Lance. Just high-ranking players who didn't provide massive emotional spikes. Regardless, his goal was met. The viewer count hit 1,200, exceeding the system goal. Alright everyone, that's it for today's challenge. We'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m., Cliff said before abruptly cutting the feed. The 1,200 viewers were stunned. He's already offline? It's been less than 2 hours. Is he running away because he's scared of losing the $100,000 giveaway? They didn't know that Cliff only streamed for the points. Now, back in his room, he stretched and looked at the prompts. Ding! 100 emotional points earned from audience reactions. Low efficiency, Cliff thought. But the main prize is elsewhere. Ding! Congratulations! Side quest: the side gig activity, C, complete. Rewards: 200 emotional points, basic module, text decryption. The text decryption module could translate ancient real-world scripts into in-game rune inscriptions, enhancing lore. It also allowed Cliff to understand any human language. Ding! Perfect completion bonus, low-tier module upgrade card, B. Cliff's eyes lit up. He immediately used the card on his production efficiency module. Ding! Module upgrade successful. Production efficiency, intermediate development speed significantly increased. Emotional points earned from all future games increased by 30%. A 30% bonus was massive. With his current balance at 1,300 points, he was just 100 points shy of the advanced CG module. Ding! Special character Lance has triggered surprise, confusion, love for Emerald. 100 emotional points earned. Cliff was stunned. Lance is playing Emerald already? He thanked the generosity of the Dragon Master in his heart and immediately unlocked the advanced CG module. Now, he could produce Blu-ray quality cinematics. He combined the CG and decryption modules and created a new folder, Granite Cave. Re-Gyrock. The Ruins. Dream Factory HQ Jubilife City. In a boardroom, developers in suits were grumbling. Vance is disgusting, calling us back from leave for this. The industry is dying. If I had a better offer, I'd be gone. A senior dev spoke up, let's talk substance. What do you think of Emerald? Honestly? It's high quality and creative, a junior said. But it's Vance's target now. Yeah. Today's meeting will be about plagiarizing it. He'll throw money at a clone, update it faster than the original, and crush them. It's not the first time Vance has done this. It's a shame. That studio was just starting to shine, and now it's over.